Out of the gates and ready to go. OutKick 360 underway. Our second day of coverage from Radio Row, Super Bowl 57 from the Convention Center in downtown Phoenix. Glad you're with us. Hutton and Withrow, and a jam-packed guest list today, which will kick off in about 15 to 20 minutes with former Cardinals and former Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians. Brian Dawkins, the Pro Football Hall of Fame safety, he will be with us also in the second segment of our upcoming hour. Adoree Jackson, Hendon Hooker, Tim Brown, Sean Merriman, and much more. It's been a busy day on Radio Row. It's picking up.
Have not had a chance to catch our breath today, Hutton. The show's opening. I've got water out here. I've got cough drops. I'm just drowning in different things left and right. And I've got business cards from someone we had on the show. It's been nonstop, and that's the way we prefer it when we're on Radio Row for the Super Bowl. Terrific guest list today. Going to be a lot of fun to hear from some of these people. We'll mix in some different segments throughout the show as well with us live here on Radio Row. It's going to be a fun show.
We have news to discuss with Kevin Durant being traded to Phoenix. To the next Suns superstars. They're loading up in a blockbuster trade for the NBA. Kyrie's out in Brooklyn as well. And we'll get to Roger Goodell and the officiating comments in just a moment. Column up right now at OutKick.com from Armando Salguero, recapping what was the agenda push of the NFL through their presser yesterday, the State of the NFL address that Roger Goodell delivers each and every year at the Super Bowl host site from media members, where they hit on a variety of topics from minorities at quarterback to the NFL trying to push the global franchises instead of expanding within the states, that and much more. And it struck a tone with Armando. He will join us live here on site in a couple of hours.
Yeah, Armando wrote about what he says is a multiple woke agenda items with the NFL. We're free to disagree on this show. Armando disagrees with our stances a lot. I completely disagree with about two of the things he writes about. Totally agree with one of the points. There's four big ones, and I sort of agree with a fourth. The one thing in the tone of this article that I completely agree with Armando on, and we'll talk to him about it as well, is this idea that in some way an NFL head coach or a GM cares at all about the race of the starting quarterback. That is of such a bygone era, and it does not affect any decision-making in the NFL today. I don't think there is a single person. I will say this in totality. I don't think there is a single person employed in the NFL that has a job coaching, being in a front office, general manager, owners, anyone that cares whether or not their quarterback is black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. I think discrimination at the quarterback position has been completely eradicated from the game. Was this a problem 30 years ago? Yeah. Was it a problem 60 years ago, 40, 50 years ago? Absolutely. It is no longer a problem. So much so, Hutton, that when we started reading stories about this is the first Super Bowl to feature two black quarterbacks, it blew my mind because I didn't even think about it.
Same.
It wasn't something I even thought for a second about with Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Last thing I think about with these guys are their race. First thing I think about is, these are two guys that were up for the MVP all year.
Yeah, the finalists, which will be awarded tonight.
That's what I think about when I think about these two guys. So totally agree with Armando on those points.
And Goodell's reacting as if the NFL has something to do with that. I mean, they have a playoff system in place for a reason. And, for all of the discussion about, the NFL is rigged, the way he answered is almost like, well, we need to do more to ensure that this continues. No, just the best quarterbacks are going to play. That's how this is set up.
Yeah, the playoffs are not racist.
Right.
So, yeah, Armando is dead on with that. There's a playoff system. That's how we advance to the Super Bowl. It's not racist structures that have led to this being the first game, the first Super Bowl featuring two black quarterbacks. Now, on some other points he brings up, I fully agree that the NFL, they want to lean into more of a left-leaning, quote-unquote, woke agenda. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, they want everyone to love them.
I mean, let's face it, that's majority of businesses owned in America. That's certainly a majority of media companies, not us, but certainly a majority of media companies. There's no mistaking that. But when Roger Goodell is answering a question from Donna Kelsey, the mother of Travis and Jason Kelsey, about the role of mothers with football players and growing up, and he talks about his mom only and doesn't mention his dad, I disagree with Armando that in some way is him not acknowledging the role of the father.
Right.
He was asked a question.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, if he was asked a question about fatherhood in the NFL and he avoided it or just went back and talked about moms being, way more important than dads or something like that, yeah, I would agree with that. But he was giving a long answer to a question asked about mothers, and he used the example of his own mother. I've got no big issue with that.
To Donna Kelsey, where the storyline last week was this is the Kelsey Bowl, with Jason and Travis matching up in this Super Bowl on Sunday.
Look, it's a good column. I encourage everyone to read it at OutKick.com, and
so
you can take away from it
also,
what you want.
Well, also, I'm reading through the transcript from the presser. Keep in mind, this is Roger Goodell, who is thrilled that he's not at the podium discussing Daniel Snyder. He's not at the podium discussing Deshaun Watson this year. He's answering questions to make the NFL reflect this positive image for everyone. And so he wants to make sure the headlines reflect the woke-type discussion points that are all checked off from the media that are asking the questions, including the first two black quarterbacks to start in a Super Bowl. Again, going back to we're in an era now where you're absolutely going to play based on the superstar status of your QB.
There's no doubt.
Look at the draft right now.
Look, there are places and spots in American society where racism exists, and it's not just racism with whites against black people.
Sure,
there's racism in all forms in a lot of different areas. This is not one of them. This is just simply not one of them. So for Roger Goodell to harp on, I'm sure there's a lot of really bad things that is the reason this is the case. I just, not today. We can go back in time and we could legislate a lot of things out that were awful, and we've evolved as humans, and we are in a place now, especially in football and pro sports, where I am here to tell everyone, no one cares. If you are good at your job.
Except for the media asking the questions to the commissioner, who doesn't want the headline of saying, I didn't even realize this because it's not an issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's, you and I think are on the same page.
Yeah, we are.
I didn't even know until someone wrote it, that it was the first Super Bowl with two black quarterbacks. I assumed it had happened before. But in pro sports, sports in general, we love it because it is a meritocracy. And it remains that way. If you're good at your job, and you help your team win games, you will be employed. That's why I love it. So to inject all of this stuff into it, I don't necessarily like it. The two other things I want to hit on, globalism with the NFL, which Armando covers in this piece, and I think he does a good job with it. I do somewhat agree with what he's saying on this. When you start taking home games away from home fans and moving them to England and Germany, that is taking away from that hometown market. And it does show a little bit of favoritism to a country that you don't currently have NFL teams in when you're taking away from those hometown teams. So from a business standpoint, it makes total sense.
Sure.
You want to be global. You want to make as much money as possible all over the world. The NFL is just like every other business that wants to do that. So I understand what they're thinking globally. I also completely agree with Armando on the point about, but at the expense of what? Right? We want to sell more tickets in Germany. We want to sell more Josh Allen jerseys in Germany. We want to sell more whatever, media rights deals in Germany. Well, great. But at times you're doing that at the expense of your own fans. And while the NFL is a giant that's not going anywhere, there is a level that people can reach that if you keep taking and taking and taking and changing and taking your diehard fans for granted, then things can change for you. I don't think we're anywhere near that, but it can change.
You can view it that way. I would view it as they're going to continue to add and add and add. They added the 18th week 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they definitely had this in mind in terms of the schedule and the rotating schedule, where the fan base every other year is going to have the same amount of games as a 17-week season at home. and then you're added the extra home game for NFL owners to reap the benefits of that. And then the NFL owners can throw their name in the hat if they want to give up one of those home games to then go and play overseas. Hello, Jacksonville. This is nothing new in regards to the globalization of the NFL. They're adding extra weeks, they're adding extra games. Meanwhile, the same amount of home games for those same fans remain in place at the stadium.
Yeah, totally. Ageism, Armando hits on the column too. I think every marketing opportunity and project out there at times is probably ageist to an extent. Everyone wants customers that are going to be around longer.
Yeah.
It's just math, right? So Roger Goodell in the press conference talked about the Amazon Prime, the Prime Video games, the average age was 10 years younger than our normal audience. And he said something like, that's exactly what we wanted, okay? I don't hear that. Again, we'll talk to Armando about it when he joins us live too. I don't hear that as we don't want older viewers. I hear that as we want to make sure we're appealing to all younger viewers. Not that go away, old people, we don't want you. It's just, well, yeah, you want to market your product and have the youngest possible people watching because the idea is you have a repeat customer for a longer period of time,
and not only
which
that,
only helps the NFL or anyone else selling anything.
Chad, we grew up in an era where you went to the game.
Yeah.
The parents now will elect to stay at home and watch the game, and the NFL wants to connect with the young audience that's not going to the NFL game live, and they want to make sure they're building and connecting with that group so that they remain the superpower that they are.
Yeah.
Why do we clip our show every day?
Yeah.
Is it for the 70-year-olds that are going to see 80 for Brady?
No. It's to make sure that we stay relevant with a younger audience
right.
as well as anyone that's older
sure.
in our audience. I mean, that's business 101. Now, if they were doing something I thought was just a direct slap at their older fans that have been around forever and supported teams forever, I would have an issue with that. Maybe some perceive going digital for one game a week is a slap in the face of older people. I respect older people enough to believe that if you really want to watch the NFL game on Thursday night, you can find it on Prime Video. They can find it if they really wanted to find it. So
and Prime's paying $1 billion.
Yeah, it's
show me the business that wouldn't take that.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. But the theme of the article, I'm in lockstep with because it's just more of the same that we see from every league. The hockey is for everyone campaign that we talked a lot
right.
about, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is doing some level of that. The NFL, to my knowledge, isn't going as far as the NHL has with this campaign, but everyone is trying to do something to virtue signal, to show
sure.
we care about everyone more than you care about everyone. And those who don't care about something, well, we don't care for you. That's the way of the world right now. It's frustrating at times. It's not going away. We're just going to get more and more of this from Roger Goodell, the NFL, everyone else.
Tom Brady's retired.
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
He is.
Bruce Arians stepped away as head coach last year in order to get Todd Bowles the head coaching opportunity and keep his staff in place. Those things have changed as well with Todd Bowles' staff. Brady no longer in Tampa. The former head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and head coach right here in Arizona of the Cardinals, Bruce Arians. He joins us as our coverage continues from Super Bowl Radio Row, Super Bowl 57. We're just getting started. Hang with us across the OutKick network for OutKick 360.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's a punter or a kicker. I'll have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, or a long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, well, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. Was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like, I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really pushed the
Aaron
limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers gonna be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life, I graduated college in 2000, and working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl, and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like, it's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on.
Yeah.
But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future, and does this, and I'll ask you this, because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa. We can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? Can
I'm
that
excited.
happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because Monken, I think you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
OutKick 360 rolls on. Hutton and Withrow with you, joined by former Cardinals and Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians at our broadcast site. Good to see you.
Great to be here, guys. Great to be here.
Here on behalf of the Arians Family Foundation.
Yeah, we've got a little event Saturday, 12 to 3 at STK for the Arians Family Foundation, and we'll have a lot of fun. One thing about our parties, that's a lot of fun.
Oh, no doubt.
No doubt.
What are you doing for the foundation specifically? What are you helping?
My wife was a CASA, court appointed special advocate. She was a broken family law attorney, as she would say. And so she started volunteering 20-some years ago, and I watched her save these kids one at a time. And once we got here in Arizona, had a platform, we started the foundation because we had a dire need here in Maricopa County of kids in foster care that needed positive influences in their life. And we try to raise money to train people to help these kids.
What's day-to-day life for you like right now in this past season?
I would go to practice, go in and work with the coaches a little bit, whatever they wanted me to do, try to stay out of the way, and then go play golf.
Not a bad day.
I never played golf in the fall. It was kind of fun.
Not a bad existence. We were surprised when Tom Brady announced his retirement. We thought it was going to continue going. Were you surprised when you saw that he was hanging it up?
It could have went either way. Neither one of them would have surprised me. Tom can still sling it, but it was such a tough year personally for him, and I was so proud of the way he battled through this whole thing and never brought it to the field. I mean, it was hard on him, but what a great human being, great teammate.
Bruce Arians, our guest on OutKick 360. So rewind a year, you step away so Todd Bowles and the staff can stay together. A lot of changes a year later, and you've been outspoken about the fact you're not happy with that, you're not pleased with that. Looking back on that decision, would you change what you did based on the situation now? Would you still be the head coach of the Buccaneers based on that?
No, I've got all the trust in the world in Todd, and Todd's got to do what he needs, the way he feels. And his philosophy, and it didn't match this year. Byron's going to be a head coach someday. Hopefully it doesn't set him back too far because he is a tremendous football coach. And so, yeah, I think for us it's just which direction we want to go in. Todd wanted to go in a different direction, and it's his ball club, but I wouldn't change a thing.
Where did the wires get crossed from the media perspective on the relationship between you and Brady? What's the biggest misconception there?
I'm sure you've read or heard something that you want to refute.
Probably because I said he threw an interception one time, but for whatever reason. But, man, we have got a great relationship, and hopefully play golf sometime soon when he gets back.
It's amazing to hear, everyone we've had on that played with Brady in New England talks about how Bill Belichick would speak to Brady like they've never heard another head coach speak to the starting quarterback of any team. And this was Tom Brady, that he was coached that way throughout in New England. I don't know that's your style, per se, in a team meeting, but when you were around and coaching him, could you sense that this was a guy who maybe was accustomed to being berated in team meetings?
He loves being coached and wants everything to be perfect. So, yeah, he doesn't take anything personal, that's for sure. And so, yeah, it's easy to coach those type of guys. And he'd obviously been through a system that's the way it was,
The fact that you ended up, how old were you when you got your first head coaching job here?
60.
And at that point, you never thought you would be able to do that.
Yeah, Chuck Pagano had to get leukemia.
Yeah.
For me to take over there. I was never the head coach. Chuck was always the head coach. And to just change the leadership role a little bit. But, I had 7 interviews set up, and 6 of them dropped me the first day. So, yeah, nobody wants a 60-year-old anymore, but Michael Bidwell gave me a chance, and I'm forever grateful for it.
And it was based off of the interim tag that you had in Indy based on that season.
One coach of the year.
What took so long? Based on your career trajectory and the success you've had as a head coach.
It's not like you were failing.
And the quarterbacks you worked with, the organizations you worked with. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. You have to ask the owners. Do you do all those things?
But you didn't get any feedback, though.
No, I never asked anybody because, just for me, it wasn't in the cards. And I wasn't a promoter. I didn't have an agent until that week. I had those interviews set up.
If only you had worked for Sean McVay in your early 30s, you could have had a job quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I was a head coach at 30, but that one almost killed me.
Are you still under contract with Tampa?
Yes, I'm still a consultant.
What the decision now moving forward without Tom is the route to go young or to go and hit the veteran market? Because we're seeing more movement than we have in recent years at the quarterback position.
I got to go back and look at 3 years ago when okay, let's see what's behind door number. We like Jameis. I love Jameis's work ethic. But let's see who's behind door number 2, because you never know. Never would have dreamt it was Tom Brady and that he would choose us and we win a Super Bowl together. But I think we have to do our due diligence, look behind door. We all love Kyle Trask. We think Kyle's going to be a hell of a player. But you always got to look behind door number 2, see what's there.
Is this a roster around whoever the quarterback's going to be that can compete for a championship a year from now?
We got some great young players. I mean, Jason has drilled the draft for 3 years in a row, and we got a good young football team. We got a lot of veterans too, but we've always liked that good mixture of veteran guys and young guys, but we have a really quality young football team.
What does your future in football look like? Are you looking out 2 years down the road and thinking, I'm going to be a GM, I'm going to continue with this role? What is it you want to do?
I like my role now. Just phase me out. It's just phase me out.
You like the golf part of your job right now.
I do like the golf part, and I like sleeping till 9.
I mean, at Titans training camp with the joint practice, I saw you rolling around in the golf cart there. I mean, that's your seat now.
Yeah, it was. I've had one of those for a while now. I got bad back, but it was fun this year. It really was for me to have. It was an easier transition, to get out.
Arians Family Foundation. You can check it out. Just do the search. We'll also tag this on social. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. By the way, what do you think about the matchup on Sunday?
I think it's going to be a great game. Hassan Reddick's my guy. I think he's going to wreck the game, hopefully. But when we had success in the Super Bowl, we got Pat going, chasing him around.
Yep.
And I think the Eagles have the pass rush to do that. But I never bet against Mahomes.
Well, and how much better is this Chiefs offensive line than the ones you guys saw in that Super Bowl?
A lot better. But, man, that Eagle pass rush is special.
Yep.
It's strong at every position on that Philly roster.
No real weakness with Philly.
I think two of the best gets last year that Howie got were Bradbury and Gardner Johnson. That putting him with Slay, that secondary is legit now.
Trading for Slay, getting Bradbury for what was it, $10 million, I think, which is, I mean, if you look at his caliber of play,
it's a steal.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Bruce Arians has been our guest here at Super Bowl 57 Radio Row. Our coverage continues across the OutKick network on OutKick 360. Chad, your big takeaway from our chat with Bruce Arians?
Big takeaway was that he addressed the elephant in the room, a couple of them, actually. One, when you asked him about his relationship with Tom Brady, and no surprise, said they're fine. They're going to be playing golf together soon, and there's no issues. Two, he addressed the part about who will be the next Bucs quarterback. Not exactly a ringing endorsement of Kyle Trask.
Well, we kind of knew that.
Yeah, I mean, he said, we love Kyle, but, we got to look about what is behind door number 2.
Yeah.
Like a lot of teams may have to do that with the quarterback position, and they're certainly looking into that, door number 2.
Blaine Gabbert's a free agent. He was the backup.
Yeah.
Kyle Trask was the third string.
Whether that be, one of these guys who are going to be available. We talked yesterday about the possibility of the Derek Carr revolving door of visits to the NFC South.
Yep.
With all those teams possibly looking for a quarterback. But really enjoyable chat with Bruce Arians. And he is just the type of guy, Hutton, that it is 100% what you see, what you get with him.
I got the sense based on, Todd Bowles remains the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Arians said he's got full confidence in what Todd's doing. He stepped away at the time so that Todd Bowles would have the opportunity to coach and have success in year one. That did not happen. Now they're going through the quarterback transition. They have an older roster that they're going to have to revamp with some influx of youth, and also view it from this stance. I get the vibe I had from the coaching changes, because it was 6 total and then 3 others retired. It felt a little bit like Scott Frost in Nebraska, where he got rid of some coaches to be retained and not have the change at head coach. I'm not saying that they were at that level to where they're going to fire Todd Bowles, because Bruce wanted him to, remain intact. He wanted the staff intact, and he's voiced his opinion that he's unhappy with how the Glazer family made some changes, so to speak. But there's no doubt the pressure's on him. And it's intriguing that if you're going to go young, if you're going with the rookie quarterback, getting the new offensive coordinator, Bowles is the head coach. It's a lot like Houston in a weird way, because you got to pair the OC with the right QB if you're going to go that way in the draft. Or free agency, because it's boom or bust in free agency too.
Did you read into it at all when he said, you asked about the coaching changes and him being vocal about it, and he kind of gave an answer of, no, we wanted Todd Bowles, and I trust Todd Bowles' opinion on the staff. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is he saying that because he knows not all these decisions were Todd Bowles, and he's more okay with it if it's a Todd Bowles decision, but he doesn't believe it is? He also went out of his way to praise whom? Byron Leftwich, saying Byron Leftwich, not even asked about him, I know he's going to get a job and he's going to be a head coach one day or he's going to be just fine. That jumped out to me as he had an issue with the moves, but he also doesn't have an issue with anything Todd Bowles wants to do. So maybe there was some.
That's how I read
Todd
into
Bowles
it because
that.
of the loyalty aspect Arians showed Bowles. There's no doubt he would have that same loyalty to his staff if given the opportunity. From the offensive discussion to one of the best to play on the defensive side, our coverage continues with Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. One of the more accomplished safeties in the history of the National Football League, Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins with us on OutKick 360. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
The Eagles,
yes,
they're back.
Yes, they are.
You got to be thrilled with how this team is built.
Oh, my goodness. The Eagles being back, phenomenal talent across the board. Coaches have done an outstanding job of growth from one year to the next, and now putting these gentlemen in position to make plays, and they're making a whole lot of plays.
Yes,
right?
they are.
And then on the other side, a coaching staff that I'm very familiar with for the most part.
Yeah, is that weird for you at all?
It is not. Well,
going against Andy Reid, your guy?
No, because I've done it before.
Yeah.
Like I've played against a team coached by Andy before, so that's not weird, right? But when it's all said and done, it's Eagles. But I love the fact that they've made it to this point, and he's having the consistent success that he had in Philadelphia. He's having it in the KC. So now, to me, you can't mention one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the National Football League, and not have Andy in that conversation.
I agree, and I think everyone would. As a competitor, though, can you truly be happy if either side wins?
No.
Or do you have to pick a side on this?
No, you got to pick a side, Jack.
So it's Eagles, right? I mean,
Eagles,
your loyalty to the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure because there are a lot of people that come in and do an interview and say, the great thing is that I'm good either way because my guy won the Super Bowl or my team won. But this is all or nothing for you.
This is all or nothing,
Good.
Jack. This is all or nothing.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
It's all or nothing.
Brian Dawkins, our guest. In your era, the safety position, every team wanted the elite player at the safety spot. Ed Reed, John Lynch, Harrison, yourself, the list goes on and on. Why is it valued the same way now in the league? And is it because of the rule changes or is it something else?
I think it is to a certain extent. You see that there are, I call them chess pieces. A chess piece is basically what the Eagles have in CJ. So he's a chess piece. You can move him wherever you want to move him on the field. He can cover the slot. He can blitz. He can tackle in space. He can make the pick in the open field. He can do all of those things. So you don't have to necessarily change packages. You can just put him in a different position to have success. And so when you have that, you then allow the defensive coordinator more freedom to do more things, right? So to me, you do have those individuals. Minkah Fitzpatrick is another one of those individuals, in my humble opinion. Buddha out in
Baker,
yes. Buddha here, right? So
Arizona,
same thing, Arizona.
That's right.
Same. So you have guys that have that capability to do all of the things that I just said. Once again, a chess piece, not someone just playing checkers, going from one space to the next.
How much power has the league taken away from the safety position with some of the rules in terms of how you can legislate violence legally in the game before and you can't legislate that violence now?
And that was always the tough thing for me when I played. So the advantage these young players have is this is something that they have been taught growing up. I was not taught these things growing up. I was taught a completely different way. So to in mid,
it's more basketball now than it was when you played.
Yeah, right.
Much more physical and hitting. Now it's more of a basketball game.
But if you think about it in golf terms, it's hard for you to check your swing in the middle of it, and then only certain guys can check their swing and go and start all over again. In football, you can't check your hit. Like, you're going to be all in and you're going to do it.
You're committed or you're not.
You're committed or you're not. Same thing, right? So,
just like you with the Eagles winning.
So
full commitment.
Full commitment.
Got to go all in. Yeah.
And so understanding those things, that the rules have changed and I understand why they've changed. So as a professional, it was my responsibility to change, and I did.
When you left Clemson, I think the school was 15 years removed from a national title in 1981 when you went to the league. So there was obviously, you could see potential in a national championship type program. But when you finished your time there, did you see that level of what Dabo was able to do at Clemson with multiple national championships?
There's no way you can project that.
Yeah.
Because Dabo I think he wasn't even the coach yet. I think he was, it took him, 4 years after my retirement for him to come there as a receivers coach or something like that. So he was not even in the picture. So there's no way that anybody could have projected that Clemson would be put on the map that they are on now. There's no way. So I always tell people that I went to Clemson, but not the Clemson of today. So I didn't go to this Clemson. I went to the school Clemson, but it wasn't the Clemson that Dabo has built.
You still get the benefit though.
Absolutely.
You're a Clemson guy, so hey, you win those national championships too.
Absolutely.
They all count.
Absolutely.
How much did you hate South Carolina?
Oh man, it's a must. It's a must.
Prereq.
Yeah, it's a must.
Part of the scholarship.
They might as well put you in the room like I picture one of those torture scenes in a movie. They make you watch something over and over and over and over again. So it's like we hate South Carolina.
Zero dark 30.
Yes. So now and coming from Jacksonville, Florida, I didn't know anything about that rivalry, but I soon found out that is a rivalry that I need to make sure that I can't stand, and leaning strongly into hating that team.
Which quarterback in your career got the best out of you whenever you were prepping for them each week? The gamesmanship, the game within the game.
Wow. It would be the two individuals that most people will talk about, and that's Peyton and Tom. Okay. It's the system, yes, but also the individual driving the system, right? So being able to play those games, and we didn't, and a tough thing for us, we didn't play them all the time. So that's another thing. So if they were in our division, you get a chance to watch film on it, prepare for them a whole lot more. But when you don't play them a whole lot, and then you have to prepare for all the things that they do, like it was a lot tougher than a lot of other quarterbacks.
How much of you're going to Peyton Manning as an example? Yeah. How much are you bogeying with him to try to throw him off on whatever check he's going to make? And how much of it is, okay, we're showing this. Now I know he's probably going to check to this. It's the chess.
It's the chess.
Right, and not the checkers of it.
It's the chess.
How much more involved is that when you prepare for a guy like Peyton Manning and you're actually implementing the game plan on game day?
So depending on what it is that you're doing, you would literally walk through disguises. We were walking through the specific things he would do, and if we wanted to try to get him to check something, I may cheat like I'm going to come down, and if I sell it, then he may check to something that will help us have success on that play because we're doing something the other way. So those type of gamemanship, and again, it's different though when you play against a team. Like if you listen to Ray Lewis talk about Baltimore and talk about Baltimore, you listen to Ray and those guys and Ed talk about playing against Tom and playing against Manning, they have a deeper familiarity with him, right? But for us, again, we don't play him all the time.
The NFC team. But
again, those shells and showing one thing, doing the other, the gamemanship within the game, it was exhausting, but you needed to do it. You had to do it.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins, our guest here on behalf of HeGetsUs.com. Tell us more and why you're involved.
Wow. This is the reason I am who I am, from coming from where I came from, developing the life and mindset that I have developed in my life, is modeling my life after the character of Jesus Christ. And so when you see me on the field living with a passion and doing things with a passion, that passion is actually a gift that I have been given. The way that I do what I do, I didn't come up with that. I didn't do things a specific way to all of a sudden develop the voice that I have, the charisma that I have, you can see the intensity coming out. I didn't do something to get that. That is a gift that I have been given. But I've watched and I've listened and I've read on how he did the human thing. And he was perfect doing this human thing. So he had the same exact emotions as all of us had. Yeah. But his emotions never took over. He always controlled them. So that means that I have the possibility of doing the exact same thing. So there is no excuse for me, for me not doing the things that I need to do to make you somebody that believes that I want the best for you. You feel me?
Yes.
To love you like I love myself.
So what's at the site?
HeGetsUs.com. So it'll be a lot of information to get you to think about your life, where you are, and how you can get to another place, a better place, the best place to be for you, not just for you, but also for your family.
I know you're picking the Eagles. What's the matchup we're not talking about enough? We're talking quarterback, receiver. What do you look at in this game?
Man. The one thing that both of these teams do that the other team will have to then have been talking about, working on, is first contact tackling. So that means that yards after catch, whichever team does not allow a lot of yards after catch or yards after contact, that will be the team that come out successful this game. So not a lot of people talking about that from a
That's a new angle.
The defensive standpoint. Again, those short gains, if you allow that running back out of the backfield for Kansas City to catch the ball for 2 yards and he breaks 5 tackles and you can't allow him to break those tackles.
Brian Dawkins, he didn't have many missed tackles.
No, one of the all-time greats.
Just a couple.
That's right. Hey, pleasure. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. More coming on OutKick 360.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and Seaspray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, like, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And I think the easy answer is the right thing to do. Like, I mean, when the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and Seaspray were asking in this interview was, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But Seaspray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, like, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI, like what are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world could learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around who will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? They said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward, and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. Everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. It started in February. We had sea sprayers on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold. And then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, days after the invasion. And originally we went there to see, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And, one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
Big thanks to Bruce Arians and Brian Dawkins for joining us. Welcome back. Radio Row, OutKick 360 rolls on with the drummer for the Black Crowes, Steve Gorman.
Former drummer for the Black Crowes. My God.
I feel like it's like a Marine, though. You know,
The
once
host
a
of
Marine,
Steve-
you're never a former Marine. Once you're in the Black Crowes.
As the son of a Marine,
always-
I can assure you, there's a lot of differences
That's
between
true.
the USMC and the BC.
True story.
Similar impact on the body, though, training for
Oh,
the Marines
yeah,
and being in
without
a rock
question.
band for that long. Yeah.
Without
Yesterday, I was standing over here with Chad, and you were recording, and I said, I'm going to ask Steve before he leaves who the drummer for the Foo Fighters is going to be. I figure you're in this networking community of drummers.
I can tell you, but then I would have to kill you.
Okay. So it's not going to be you.
It's not going to be me. Oh God, no! That's way too much action for me. I don't know. I mean, because you're not the first person here to ask me. And here's the thing: I could find out. I'm friends with all those guys. It's not something that's It's weird to ask as a drummer, but also just as a. It's like if you're not telling me. That's a pretty heavy decision to make.
You want them to offer the information, not you ask for it.
Yeah, I'm not even really thinking about it because it doesn't matter because whoever it is going to be great. I saw the show in L.A., the Taylor gig at the Forum, and the joke backstage, everybody was like, well, this is the greatest audition ever. You know, there's a bunch of drummers all playing. I can tell you that the Taylor kid, Roger Taylor from Queen, his son, is it Justin Taylor?
Okay.
I think his name. He was great. The guy from Blink-182 played like that was his band. You know, he's great. He would do it. Stuart Copeland is my dark horse pick from the Police. I have no inside information, but something tells me that's going to be the guy.
How old is Stuart Copeland now? Roundabout age, do you know?
He's got to be 70.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I'm 58 this year. I hope he's 12 years old.
Well, you've got such an appreciation for music history, just like Dave Grohl does.
Sure.
When he talks about it, it comes through. So that would make a lot of sense that he would go with an older gentleman that's more of a legend, right?
I think there's also a thing of like, who can we bring out here that's not going to freak out? It's a weird. And it's not just joining a huge band, but that band replacing that guy, filling those shoes. I mean, it's not an easy thing for anybody to step in and do because the pressure any drummer is going to put on themselves to live up to that, you know, and not imitate, but you got to have a certain amount of respect and humility to go out there and say, okay, I'm not Taylor Hawkins, but I'm going to do this gig now.
It's like, you know, captain of the New York Yankees or, you know, name the sports equivalent of position and city and team. I feel like now Foo Fighters drummer will be that. Is it as simple as they go and handpick whoever they want from not whatever band, but from most bands out there?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's there's a lot of. It depends on how busy a band is. There's a million things, but
I don't know how drummer contracts work. So you can walk us through those.
I wish there were drummer contracts. I used to say I wish we could trade like teams. Like I would love a season in another band right now. I think it'd be good for all of us.
What band would you choose if you're Aaron Rodgers?
If you got traded somewhere,
you can pick your team.
You have a no trade clause, but you can lift the no trade clause.
See, that's the
for
thing.
For a band. What would it be?
I'm at the place now where I can only be in my own band because it's like I'm too old to be a team player anymore. It's like if I'm not kind of, you know, if I'm not like one of the key guys, I would not be a good drummer for hire. Put it that way.
You're in Minneapolis now.
I am.
You're with a rock station, so you get to talk about a little bit of everything.
It's a lot of everything. Yeah, we go as I often like to do, whether I should or not. Start with a rock song, go into a sports story, and then tell a story about, you know, this new pill for constipation that vibrates in your stomach, and then get right back to a rock song. You know, whatever it is. I just like to kind of, I liken it to a conversation in a bar. It just goes in a lot of directions, and hopefully it comes back around and you make a point eventually.
You know, I've known you for years, going on with Willie Donick back in the day in Nashville. Yeah. Of course, everybody knows you from the Black Crowes. I know you from Sports Talk.
Yeah.
You've hosted a bunch of shows, national shows. You're here doing some work now also. Do you find a cross-section of people when they recognize you or talk to you that know you from one or the other? And how has that sports following been built up over the years?
It's like,
because I know you from sports.
The sports show, the show we did for Fox. I mean, the Steve Gorman Sports that we started locally was a small little thing. When we went to Fox Sports Radio, it was like being in a cult band. Like if you want to make that comparison, like. Not a lot of people were listening, but the ones who did were all really in. The people that got it really got it. And I, just like here this week, I've bumped into a lot of people who introduced themselves and said, oh, man, when you and Jeffrey would blah, 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 and they start. And it's not unlike when someone says something, I saw your gig at whatever. It's like it connected with people who didn't want just a straight down the middle sports show. And that's always really nice, and I do hear, again, like I've heard from 2 different people this week, so-and-so, they're just trying to do what you guys did, and whether that's true or not, I'm like,
that's a big compliment, though. That's a big compliment, yeah.
No, we had a lot of fun, and I can say this with all sincerity. I couldn't believe they hired us in the first place, and we did 5 years, and 4.5 of those years were spent going, this is not going to – there's no way they're going to let us keep doing this. So it was an awesome run.
I'm not going to ask you your pick for the game because I'm sure everyone that talks to you is going to ask you about that. What are you most looking forward to? You want to give us the pick too?
I'm the only guy that I know who thinks the Chiefs are going to win this game.
Really?
Yeah.
You're the first that said that.
What are you most looking forward to about this game?
I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a fourth quarter, decision, and that's always great. As a child of blowout Super Bowls, I'm always just excited when the game is actually a good game, and I think it will be. The thing that I just heard this the other day, the Chiefs, I think it's 93 or 97 games since they've lost by more than 4 points. Just take a minute with that one.
In the 90s? Games?
Over 90 games since anyone beat them by 5 points or more.
The thing that keeps blowing me away is Patrick Mahomes, 5 straight home AFC Championship games.
Insane.
And
no
how many the Chiefs hosted prior to Patrick Mahomes?
None.
0.
None.
AFC Championship games.
As much as we all believed in the Elvis Gerbach years, they just didn't. They just didn't come together.
Never really came together the way it did with Mahomes.
They didn't click the way we thought they would. So, I ultimately I don't care. But I just think I'm not betting against Mahomes and Andy Reid right now. It's that simple.
And the sleeper pick for the drummer for the Foo Fighters is?
I'm saying it's Stuart Copeland, which is either the best or the dumbest thing I could say. But that's why I like it. I just think it would be cool. I just think that would be the coolest thing ever.
Well, I feel like I just feel like you and Dave Grohl are very similar in your appreciation for rock music. Mm-hmm. So that would be a pick that makes sense.
It makes sense, and I'll tell you what. I mean, we are buddies, and we talk at each other because we're saying the same things a lot in certain things about that. But about bands and the way we approach and what matters to us and all this, there's a lot of similar ground. Close to I'm a couple years older than him. Whatever. What was the point I was going to make? Because it was really good.
Dave Grohl.
No, but about this gig. Oh. To your point, I would have thought that he was going to pull the plug, honestly. My first thinking last year was...
On the band?
Yeah,
the band would
I just
go away.
thought...
Interesting.
Because he's got so many projects. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't put out a solo record already because he's the busiest guy on planet Earth. And I just thought he was going to be the rock historian that he is and say, this is what Zeppelin did. They're the only ones that did it right. At the same time, that statement they put out about what the Foo Fighters are here for made a lot of sense to me, and I was like, "No, man, go as long as you can."
Steve, thanks, man.
Steve Gorman, the former drummer of the Black Crowes.
Yeah, let's get that right.
That's Maybe a future drummer of the Foo Fighters. Who knows?
I'm too tired.
Coming up in hour number 2, Cody and Jacob Hollister join us. The Hollister twins, plus Hendon Hooker and much more. Stick with us from Radio Row. OutKick 360 rolls on.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
It just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking there's going to be practice the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all of this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine, but you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude. The Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Just like that, the second hour is here from Radio Row. Glad you're with us across the OutKick network. And Chad, we had to leave Nashville, arrive in Phoenix to have the Hollister twins join us on set, who both reside in Nashville. Cody and Jacob. Cody with the Tennessee Titans currently. And,
Cody
yeah,
and Jacob. For those confused that are watching right now.
Jacob with the Seahawks. And you guys have been making the rounds today.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course, man. Sure. Thanks for having us. Anybody from Nashville, we gotta be a part of it. Yeah.
So you guys have a Super Bowl ring.
Do.
You, same team, Patriots, but you didn't participate in the game. I'm not knocking that. You got the ring.
Yeah.
How jealous are you of the Kelsey brothers as they
man.
face off against one another?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like the next step in the dream, because like when I was with the Seahawks and he was with the Titans, there was a scenario where we could have aligned and played each other.
Yeah.
I'm happy for them, honestly. Just their whole family. It's a dream come true.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say the same thing. It's one thing to watch. We were on the same team, so it was cool. But yeah, you dream of that, like both this highest form of competition.
Yeah.
You're both playing, and so I mean, for them, it's incredible. Their mom. We keep seeing stuff about their mom splitting the jerseys and stuff, and. So I was really excited, not just for you guys, but I mean the whole family getting to experience it.
I think the toughest part, Chad and I discussed this earlier in the week, and last week I believe, the toughest part would be the brother who lost, and I would feel bad for my brother losing the Super Bowl more than I would feel great about winning the Super Bowl.
That's it. Because we feel for each other. It's like, I want to win, but I don't want you to lose. And,
yeah.
And then do we celebrate? But I'm sad that,
like, do you go to the Super Bowl party for them?
Yeah,
like, cheer them up?
Yeah, show up and, hey, guys, can I hang out with you guys while you celebrate your win?
If you play with Burrow, Burrow's throwing the party anyway. Like last year, he threw a losing Super Bowl party. Apparently, it was a blast.
Well, I have two brothers. They're both a little bit older, so we didn't quite have that sibling rivalry, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it exists. I was thinking about this with the Kelsey brothers, and you guys play the same position.
I play receiver and tight end.
It's the receiver side of it, on the same side of the ball, I should say.
It should pay the same.
So, you know, Kelsey, both on offense, they're not going to square off head-to-head on the field. That, to me, would be painful.
Yeah,
like, just thinking about your brother, especially you guys, twins, you know, if you're playing safety, right, and you're at receiver, and you guys are squaring off, and you're going to be involved in big plays in a Super Bowl,
it'd be weird.
Think for a second what that would be like, and how would you guys handle that?
Well, we thought about it because special teams was a possibility that we'd line up against each
Wow.
other if we did, because Tennessee, we played the Jaguars last year. We didn't end up competing against each other, but we thought, what if we get lined up on special teams against each other? Like, it's just so tough because we call it brother-in-lawing if you kind of let someone go in practice and not try your hardest, and they're like, don't brother-in-law it. And I'm not going to lie, it'd be hard, but we agreed, like, we're going to give it our – we can't not do our absolute best. So I'm like, hey, you're going to get my best. I'm going to get your best.
Yeah.
That's just how it's
Can
gonna
you
be.
imagine the trash talk you would get from Vrabel
Yeah.
if he got the best of you in that game in special teams?
I wouldn't want to hear
It
that.
would be on the low lights for sure.
I would not want to hear that one.
100%.
Craig Ackerman would have a heyday.
Where does Vrabel rank in terms of trash talkers? In all your playing days, high school, college, NFL, where would he rank against everyone you've gone against that's talked
For
trash?
him, it's always like out of nowhere he'll say something where you just don't expect it. And it's always with like firm confidence and to where he's a player's, you know, he's a former player, and so he just knows how to talk with the guys. And so I love it because he'll come trash talk with a player or a teammate, and it's just that like banter that you don't expect and you just love though, because he'll just come up with something random and you're like, I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, he completely knocks you off your game so much whatever he says that there's no comeback. There's not even a response.
Yeah.
That's the best type of trash talk.
Yep.
Larry Bird-like when I hear that.
Oh, yeah. Cody and Jacob Hollister with us on OutKick 360. I know you're a musician.
Yeah. He is
Same?
too, yeah.
We both play, yeah.
So that's why you're in Nashville?
Well,
I know you're there for your job, but I'm saying, like, you also reside there.
Down,
It's a part of it, yeah.
So what's the ultimate dream of what you guys are doing? You want to? Is it a songwriter? You play guitar? What?
Yeah, the dream would definitely be, you know, even during this football career, we're really just working on craft and singing and playing, but really, yeah, you know, be artists and sing and write.
Yeah.
We love writing songs, and so yeah, just that passion. It's just a passion right now, but then yeah, for sure, progressing.
Is it country? Is it what are we?
We're actually we're similar in a lot of ways, but also different. He's more soulful. I mean, my style of writing tends to be more country folk, Americana type.
I'm like soul singer songwriter, you know, kind of mix of
yeah,
stuff.
it's really the songwriting aspect that I enjoy, just the creative. But what we also have found, you know, moving to Nashville is we have such a respect for musicians and how professional they are, where it's so easy to say. I mean, people come to the football field and say, oh, I think I could do it. But it's the same thing with music, you know, where we fully realize if we wanted to be good at it, you have to put a lot of time in and a lot of work to get there. And so by no means am I saying I could be the best tomorrow, but I am very passionate about it. I know that Cody's very passionate. He's been doing it longer than I have, and so it's something that we would love to do moving forward.
Cody, are we thinking duo here, or is this a Liam and Noel Gallagher situation? You guys going to break up at some point, or is it two different lanes we're talking about
We'd
musically?
love that. We'd love that together. I think it has more power together, so we would love that.
Yeah. We'd love to find a way to do it together.
That's awesome.
Chad's a big boy band fan, so he would.
If you guys need, we got two other guys here. You know, to be NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, you need one more. I see a lot of guys walking around.
You guys dance?
We can have 5.
Absolutely not. Look at me.
No one wants to see me dance. I did in high school, though. We had like an all-male beauty pageant that the dance team would throw out. And I was in high school during the height of the boy band era, and I had to dance to I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys.
No way.
The 10 finalists you broke off into teams of 5,
Yeah.
and you had like 10 minutes to prepare, choreographed, dance, lip syncing
No way.
to a boy band song, and mine was Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way.
Wow.
Not really folk, not in the lane you're in,
Not
but
so much
a little
folk.
outside.
yeah, a little bit different.
It
Didn't work out for me, as you guys can see.
There are people that
Still
get
wearing
us
this, though.
mistaken all the time. I'll
Oh,
get
yeah.
called Withrow. He gets called. I just go with it.
Really?
Right? This happens every day for you guys, right?
Every day. Yeah. I mean, we really respond to Jacob and Cody.
Yeah, say either name and we'll look
Yeah.
up.
If you guys swap teams, would your coaches know?
The thing, I think we could pull it off for a few days, but then,
Yeah.
I'd be on the outside running, and they'd be kind of disappointed in my speed compared to him. And so,
He'd go against a corner and it wouldn't look good, and I'd go against a DN and it wouldn't look good.
yeah.
Is there a difference in weight? I'm trying to look at you
Yeah,
guys right
there
now.
is.
I'm guessing the tight end's a little bit. Yeah, there we
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
Now
Can
I
you
see
tell
there's a
now?
little bit bulkier. Yeah.
No, I'm
20
20
he's got
pounds
20
heavier.
pounds on
yeah.
me.
Okay.
240, he's 220.
Is it harder to keep the weight on or off?
It's harder to keep it on for us. We just
Yeah.
naturally we're down in that 220 range. And so
Oh,
when I-
linemen slim
Oh,
like
yeah.
fast
So
when they
fast.
retire.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it's always been tougher to keep the weight on.
Have you guys ever played it off when someone mistakes you for the other and just went with it?
Yeah,
Whether it be an
because it'll
interview or
be-
just talk to them for a while and
Oh,
see
yeah.
how long you
It'll
keep
be-
it going?
You'll be walking in Nashville, especially because now we both live there. And when I first moved there, I've been there for a while, and then Jacob moved there, and then people would randomly text me like, "Are we good? Like, are you mad at me?" And like one of my buddies would text me, I'm like, "Dude, why?" And he's like, "You just walked by me, didn't even say anything. I tried to say hi." And so now when we have
Yeah.
someone say what's up, I know they think I'm Jacob, and I'll just dap them up and be like,
Yeah.
especially on the field, I've had Derek Carr be like, "Brother, I miss you. I
Oh,
love
that's
you."
awesome.
And I'm like, "Hey, twin."
Yeah.
Well, we try to get it. So we're going to talk to Dory Jackson, and we were talking to him earlier about he looks just like A$AP Rocky, the rapper. So what I told him was the next time someone mistakes you for A$AP Rocky, especially on Radio Row, just do the interview
Go with it.
as A$AP Rocky and see how long you can do it,
Yeah.
and then have someone film it, and it'd be a great bit.
Until they ask you to freestyle.
I think if there's if there's a Seattle radio station here, you guys should go on the other one and see how
sure.
long you can carry it on.
I'd be down for that for sure.
I'm sure you know the other ones, season well too.
Oh, yeah.
You're following each other.
100%. We could pull it off for at least a couple minutes.
Yeah. Do you watch the others' games?
Oh, yeah.
The week of? Do you go back and watch it in full?
Yeah,
Now-
when we can, we're fully watching. I mean, I'm watching every snap when I can, and going back and I mean, even sometimes at halftime, I've like checked just to see if my brother had catches or what he's doing, and we're really into it.
That's
for
awesome.
I'll
sure.
be like peeking at the scoreboard, but even tape, because there'll be like a special team, like kickoff return, and I'm like, "Hey, do you have any advice on this guy? You faced him, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
playing the backside 5." And I'll go watch his technique and be like, "Actually, that's really helpful." And so, a guy designed just like me, I better use his technique if it worked, and it does.
The Hollister twins with us. How many times have you guys been cut?
I've been cut more than you.
Maybe I don't know at this point. I mean,
Maybe not now. This last year was a
Yeah, this last couple
I think
years.
7 for me.
I don't think people realize the back end of a roster.
Yeah.
And the back and forth, especially with the rules now from active roster on Saturday, and you could go right back to the practice squad or whatever. But the grind of that, and then actually trying to latch on to the active roster and stay there.
Yeah.
Is it maddening? Is it to this point? It's normal. And I mean no disrespect by this, by the way. It's a great gig. It pays well. But the realizing the dream to only go back on the free agent market for a day or whatever, it's got to be a terror in a way. You're worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, it challenges everything in you when you get cut and your identity. And so my faith in the Lord has just totally been challenged in those moments of like, all right, God, you got a purpose for me, you got a plan for me. And so in those times, I'm like, you got to know who you are and have confidence, because if you don't, you're going to crumble and be insecure and, man, why this happened? What are the coaches thinking? All this different stuff. You got to know who you are as a player, not think too hard into things, and just be like, I'm going to keep my nose down and grind.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, to have the confidence in yourself is definitely what's most important through this process, I feel like. Because, I mean, there's been years when I'm for sure on this team, and I'm going to have a lot of playing time, all that stuff. And there's years when it's, I don't know what's going to happen this time. And so just having the confidence in yourself to know, okay, no matter what happens, I know that I'm good enough to be a player in this league and have a role. And so that's the most important in my eyes.
And every cut is not the same, like
sure.
you were saying. So was there a time you were most surprised where you were doing something in camp or you're with the team, you're thinking, all right, I'm going to make this team, and then you were surprised cut? I'm sure there are other times you're thinking, based on the roster or the situation or the reps, this probably isn't going to work out. When were you most surprised?
I was most surprised probably probably this year with the Raiders because I know I had a good role going into the season, and then I had a knee injury in the preseason. And so I know I had a great role. I loved the team, everything. And then I was out, leading up to the first game, and I wasn't healthy for the first game. So they decided to release me on a settlement rather than keeping me around, and because Darren was dealing with some injuries too. So I was really surprised by that, honestly. But that was another situation. It's like, all right, I'm going to go back and get healthy for 4 weeks, train, get ready to roll, and get back out there.
And then I had one where I made the roster, and we celebrated it. It's amazing. This is great. Literally after week 1, I was cut, and I was like, no way. It was my first year making the roster, beginning of the season. I'm like, this is, you start projecting, this is my year, Lord. And I got cut after week 1, and I was devastated. You got to walk back into the building and still have your head held high, still work hard and grind, but it takes a lot. You got to put down your pride and just go work hard.
And it ties into he gets us and why you're here.
100%. Yeah, he gets us is amazing, man. We were presented with this opportunity a couple of weeks ago to come out here, and really what we love about it represents what we do kind of on a daily basis in our lives and how we try to approach our lives, which is just loving people really well. And they're kind of taking this approach on this third way, which is getting outside of the fighting and just going at each other's throats all the time and just being like, let's go back to what Jesus came here to do, and really just trying to live like he did, which is just loving people well and trying to understand them.
Yeah, and you see the relatability of Jesus because he came as fully man and fully God. So the fully man side of him felt every emotion, every trial, every, he was turned on by friends, literally the closest of friends to him. So he feels everything that you feel. And so we get to see the image of God as man and feel everything. So every hardship I go through, I know that Jesus felt it. For the skeptic out there, who maybe has been harmed by their image of God or Jesus because of someone, because of a broken person that's acted in a human way. Well, this is a good opportunity to say Jesus was man, but also God. But Jesus, we want to say, is that we're going to be known for our love of people. And so we get to be a part of this, which is loving people well.
Cody and Jacob Hollister have been our guests on Radio Row. Good to meet you guys. Next gig you play in Nashville, let us know.
Okay. Yeah,
we'll be there.
We'd love to go.
We'll broadcast live.
Live show from the next gig.
Okay.
That's what we'll do. Yeah.
And you'll dance.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Chad will be the
I'll bring 4
entertainment.
buddies from high school, and we'll dance.
Good to meet you guys.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, coming up, Hendon Hooker will join us with some headlines as well on the other side. Stick with us. OutKick 360 rolls on across the OutKick network.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's a punter or a kicker. I have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, or long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. Was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like he really pushed the
Aaron
limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers gonna be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life is, I graduated college in 2000 and, working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl and thinking, well, that's a cool story, 6th-round guy, you know, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. You know, it kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on.
Yeah.
But now, but I'm interested to see now, you know, what that looks like in the future. And does this, and I'll ask you this because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa. We can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? I'm that
excited.
Happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, you know, Monken, I think, you know, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
Glad you're with us across the OutKick Network, our Super Bowl 57 Radio Row coverage for OutKick 360. Coming up in a matter of minutes, Hendon Hooker will join us, conversation we had yesterday. Also, a bit later, in roughly 40 minutes, Armando Salguero will sit down with us live here on Radio Row. We'll talk about his column from earlier today at OutKick in reaction to the Roger Goodell presser from yesterday. And still to come, Tim Brown, Sean Merriman, and more. Speaking of Roger Goodell, we ended the show yesterday hitting some of the highlights of the presser, the state of the NFL, as we like to call it. And one of the big talking points across social media was Roger Goodell's discussion and thoughts and opinion on the state of officials and officiating right now in the National Football League.
Yes, we listen to all the voices. Let's just start with that point. But we'd like to go to the facts, ultimately. So just to take your point, are we losing people from the field to the booth? There are some that never even officiated on the NFL field. And so we didn't lose anyone. May have lost them from our office, but we didn't lose them from officiating on the field. Others are taking on that responsibility at the end of their careers. So I do not think that's a factor at all, zero. I think for us, when you look at officiating, I don't think it's ever been better in the league. There are over 42,000 plays in a season. Multiple infractions could occur on any play. Take that out and extrapolate that. That's hundreds, if not millions, of potential fouls. And our officials do an extraordinary job of getting those. Are there mistakes in the context of that? Yes. They are not perfect, and officiating never will. But we've also had, obviously, replay and other aspects that help us address those issues to make sure they're not something that we can't correct on the field. Communications between our office, that is not the case. In the championship game, that was stopped appropriately because the clock was running by an official on the field. That happens frequently in our game. That's not an unusual thing to have that happen. So again, we want to go back and look at the facts. We may not disagree, we may not agree with every TV announcer or every officiating expert, but we think our officials are doing a great job. But we're always going to look through our competition committee and everything else we have, how we improve our officiating. But it will never be perfect. In addition, I think we all have to realize through the quality of what we see on our broadcasts, you've never been able to see the kinds of things that you can see today. And you see it in super slow-mo. You see it where you can actually stop it. Sometimes that distorts a call potentially, but the reality is our officials are held to an incredibly high standard, and I think they meet it. Will we try to get better? You betcha.
So he's accurate in that last point about the high standard. The problem, Chad, the perception, and I'm a believer perception is reality. The best officials are leaving for media gigs, rules analysts, and not just from the global network span like we would see with Mike Pereira, but the in-booth broadcasts. 2 or 3 of them now have their own guy. And those were all lead officials, led crews, white hats for Super Bowls. They're now working up in the booth instead of officiating games when it was a much better communication process than what we have right now.
Well, and Hunt, you and I have both had conversations with people that are either in the league or have been in the league in the past. And part of the issue is also I don't know that the current hiring structure for officials in the NFL is a pure meritocracy. And that's part of this as well, with a lot of issues going on. I just wish the last part of what he said, I agree with you. He's right.
The standard to other football
leagues.
There's
a lot of research done.
Yeah.
They're watching everything. They're holding them to a high standard. There's plenty of resources put into it. And there's no way human error is a part of every sporting event when you talk about officiating, right? I don't want that removed from the game. And no one's asking for the perfect game. But what people are asking for are, clarity on what's happening in the moment if the game is stopped. Just not the situations you saw, especially in that AFC Championship game, where there's confusion about game administration. To me, that's the biggest thing. You can debate all day about, pass interference or not, or holding or not, or whatever it may be. We're talking about bigger issues than that, and issues to me that are easily rectified within the league. So acknowledge that much. To act like it was, this is something that happens all the time. No, it was different. The reaction to it was different.
Well,
what we saw in those games was a little bit different. It's fine to say that and then go, but we're continuing to review processes and how do we administer things, and we're going to keep looking at it.
The biggest issue, though, and you're right, the lack of communication. There is not a Mike Pereira or a Dean Blandino that's speaking on behalf of the officials. The first comment that we receive, other than a written statement, is from Goodell at this presser where he's acting like everything is just perfect. And of course it's not. But they don't have that voice that assures, explains the process. And that's the biggest difference from the two eras, where did they come out and discuss every single thing? No. But they were media appearances, describing things in local markets where, the 7th game on CBS, if there was an officiating problem, Pereira would hop on with that radio program the next day on that Monday and describe and go through the process of why what happened ended up being the best solution or the right or wrong call. They're not doing that now. And that is where the doubt comes in, and fans can see it for themselves. We don't have to take everything that Roger Goodell says as the gospel, especially when it comes to this. Transitioning, quarterback. We had a great one who just got done with the SEC play. He's injured, but he's going to the draft, and chances are he's a day 2 pick. Here's our chat from yesterday with Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Our coverage from Super Bowl 57 Radio Row continues across the OutKick network. This is OutKick 360. Pleased to be joined by Tennessee quarterback and soon-to-be draft pick Hendon Hooker.
You know, and we were actually in the stadium for the game against Ball State. I think it took you guys 28 seconds to score. Interception on the first play, touchdown pass to Hyatt, who we're talking to also on the next play. Did you feel like, okay, this may be what we talked about all offseason? This is the expectation now. And I got the sense even in that route against a team you should have beaten that we kind of expect some of this now at Tennessee.
Yeah, and what's crazy about it is we were celebrating on the sideline with the defense for so long that the shot clock was winding down, and I'm screaming to the O-line to get set so I could send my motion. And I remember the line just snapping down immediately, and I sent the motion, and he was aware of the shot clock as well. He got set fast, and Jay Hyatt made a great read on his route, and I just delivered him the ball, and he made a great play after that. But yeah, you know, just that expectation and that belief that, you know, we're going to come out here and enforce our will on every opponent that we face.
What does Heisman momentum feel like in the moment?
It feels like, you know, everything that you've prepared for and everything that you've worked for is coming into fruition. You know, I couldn't have dreamed it any other way. I prayed for it, you know, since a young age, and you know, really believed in, you know, my abilities, and I was blessed with such great abilities, and to be surrounded by such great people in Knoxville and in the facility at Tennessee, and my teammates, they were very encouraging, and you know, never felt like it was too much on me just because I had such a great support system.
We're just friends here talking now. You know, one Tennessee guy to another. I'm a Tennessee grad also.
Yeah.
I was terribly disappointed when you weren't invited to New York. I understood the injury at the end of the year, maybe not winning it, but we talked about it on our show. That was terribly disappointing to me. It had to be disappointing to you to just miss the cut of being in New York because of Tennessee's lack of a Heisman Trophy winner throughout their history. I thought just going to New York in the ceremony would have been huge. What was your initial reaction?
You know, I didn't even want to watch the announcement of the finalists. I remember me and my roommate Joe just kind of sitting on our patio and just watching the cars drive by and just talking about, you know, how the season transpired, and how I was looking forward to him playing, because at this time I'm hurt. So, you know, I'm talking to him about the next game. Hey man, like I'm ready to see this Joe Milton train up and running strong. And I just got a text from my mom. She was like, "I'm so sorry." So I knew then that I didn't make it. But you know, it was tough. But you know, those guys, they deserved it as well. They're big time ball players, and I'm a fan of all their games as well.
Senior Bowl made an exception for you. We had Jim Nagy on to talk about it and said you were such a big focal point in college football. They felt like it was good to invite you, and so many teams wanted to talk to you. How much do you think that process of talking with NFL teams helped you in the upcoming draft?
Yeah, I feel like it helped me, you know, in a lot of ways, just getting to know different organizations and getting to know, you know, different coaches, and also, you know, just making a lot of new friendships in the player world from guys around the country, and you know, guys that I've played against, to actually be able to have real conversations with them and not just some junk talking on the field or just post-game, you know, oh, man, you played a great game, things of that nature. But it was a great experience. Shout out to Jim Nagy and the Senior Bowl for allowing me to, you know, fulfill a lifelong dream. Me and Velus Jones, when we were roommates when I first got to Tennessee, we had a set of goals that we wanted to hit, and it went from the SEC championship to the national championship to Senior Bowl to the combine to the draft, and we had that up on our door. And every day when we walked out, you know, we saw that, and you know, Velus led the way last year, and we didn't hit the SEC or the national championship mark, but he hit every other mark, and just to be able to go to the Senior Bowl was a blessing.
there's this constant knock on the quote-unquote system quarterback. Mike Leach guys had it for years. I think Josh Heupel guys are getting a little bit of that now. We're all guilty of it at times when we see someone put up insane numbers like you did over not even 2 full seasons at Tennessee. But as the year went on and I watched more and more of you, I'm thinking the guy doesn't throw interceptions. He throws good power. He throws with touch. He's accurate. He's a good leader on the team. And then people started to kind of come around and think, this guy looks like a pro quarterback, even if he's playing in this system. What's the biggest knock or criticism you hear about your game or the system at Tennessee that you want to debunk right here and now?
Yeah, it's a lot of misconception on what I do. They think that I don't make, pre-snap calls.
That it's kind of a sandlot game.
Yeah, like they just think like, hey, run to the 30 and I'll throw it to you. Like, no, that's not what we're doing. I still have to identify the defense. I still have to make sure that the runs that we have are good runs into, good defensive fronts. If not, I have to check the play. I still go under center occasionally.
Yeah.
A lot of people, he's never gone under center. Well, I've played in 2 different offenses as well. So
and you added that this season where you guys are scoring touchdowns under center.
Exactly, and threw some passes from under center as well.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of, there's a lot of misconceptions. So honestly, I'm a quarterback all around. I can do everything from getting in the huddle, calling the play call, to getting under center, to taking a regular traditional drop, which I've been doing since I was 4 years old. It's a lot of misconception, but the quarterbacks that are coming out of Tennessee from Coach Heupel and Coach Hosley and Mitch Miletolo, we're going to be well above in a lot of aspects just because of how we're taught and how we, how we elevate our mindset at Tennessee.
Hendon Hooker with us on OutKick 360. Aside from the knee, what's the question you received most at the Senior Bowl? Did you meet with all 32 teams?
Yes.
Okay, all 32. Because they can meet with every player there if they want to. Outside of just how's the ACL, what are they wanting to know?
They want to know my day-to-day life. So you only get 15 minutes with each team. So I tell them, like, if I get into my everyday life, our 15 minutes is going to be up by the time I get through Wednesday.
Yeah.
But it was a blast to sit down and actually talk ball. A couple of teams, wanted to see some of my favorite plays in different situations, some third down, some third and long, third and short, some drive starters, some things of that nature. So just kind of really, being a football junkie that I am, I'm excited to jump out there. I'm asking them, what defense would you like it into? And they'd tell me a defense, tell me a front, and I talk about different intricacies of the play. So it was just a blast to be there and be amongst such great football minds and learn from them as well. And as I show my football mind.
And you're good. You said last week you feel like you'll be ready for the season with your knee, right?
Yes.
Everything's on schedule.
Yes, sir.
Ready for training camp?
Yeah, ready for training camp. It's a daily process. I'm always ready to get back, but I'm not in a rush to get back. I want to make sure that I'm 100% healthy and that I can perform at a high level, even higher level than I have been.
So everything's on Joe Milton moving forward. I'm curious from this perspective. He starts, you come in, and you said that impacted your overall play. That helped you. I remember this back in August when we were speaking. Do you think being roommates with him and your impact on him now helps him next season?
Yes. We had this conversation the other day, and he was saying, man, I thank you for making me a morning person. And now I wake up, he said, now I wake up, really early, and I'll sit and meditate, kind of taking the same steps that I take in my day-to-day. And to see him incorporate that and help him, I almost brought a tear to my eye. But, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help my teammates and my brothers however I can. And I told him the same thing. A lot of things that he taught me, on the field. I'm like, man, you took my game to a whole nother level, and I couldn't thank you more.
That performance against Clemson in the Orange Bowl, I thought was really important.
Yeah.
Because you go out there, and if there's a drop-off, a huge drop-off from you to him, you're going to start asking the question, should you bring in another transfer? Should there be competition? All these things. What did you make of his performance in that game? Top to bottom, I was impressed. He looks like a better, more improved quarterback than the year before.
Yeah, and we both do.
Yeah.
Coming in from last year to this year, we both made an emphasis on taking our game to the next level mentally and physically. I remember after the SEC media day, Joe picked me up from the airport. We went straight to the indoor, and it's just me and him in there throwing. Any chance we got to elevate our game, that's what we did. And before the game, I was telling Joe, I said, Joe, man, I really hope you go out here and throw 7 touchdowns, just light it up. And he was ecstatic to go out there and showcase what he's been working on. And he showed it off all year. Anytime that he was in the game, it was no drop off. And that's what we talk about. We make sure that the first group is the same as the second group. The second group looks exactly as the first group does. And Joe did a great job of that all season, staying even-keeled and coming in and jump-starting his Heisman campaign.
Who's your favorite quarterback to watch and study in the NFL?
Deshaun Watson. I love watching him. I love watching Josh Allen, Derek Carr. Patrick Mahomes does some wicked things. So, I try to emulate a little bit of that, but not too much.
Who do you think you're most like of those guys you watch?
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
for sure. The way he had lose the pocket is slippery, hard to tackle, very accurate. I remember taking a visit to Clemson my 11th grade year and watching him on the first drive go like 7 for 7 and then ended off with a touchdown to Mike Williams. And that was so cool. I remember telling my mom, like, when I get in college, I'm going to have some drives where I don't miss a pass and we're going to score. It's going to look clean just like that. I've looked up to his game for a long time.
What would you consider a successful NFL career for Hendon Hooker?
Coming in, learning, first of all, I just want to learn and soak up as much information as I can from vets and coaches, players around me. And then, moving to Rookie of the Year, for sure, winning a conference championship, winning a Super Bowl, having longevity, so playing this game for a very long time.
Sounds like the college goals as you check them off.
And it's probably not a question you're dying to answer from teams, but does anyone come to you and say, hey, what would it be like if Hendon Hooker is the backup quarterback for a short time? Yeah. How would you be as a teammate? Do you point back to your time under Joe Milton?
Yeah, and not just at Tennessee, at Virginia Tech as well. I've been in a quarterback competition my whole career except for this last year, and that's the first thing you have to be as a great teammate. So bringing that positive energy and that leadership role, from my standpoint, I can't immediately just jump in and try to step on toes. I have to learn and play a rookie's role. When it's my time, to really take over, then I'll put my big boy pants on and step up.
Hendon Hooker with us here on Radio Row in Phoenix. Bush's Baked Beans, Bush's Best.
A lot of
Bush's
advertising. I don't know any other baked beans other than Bush's. So the advertising has worked, apparently.
You love it?
Love it. Love it. We have a secret family recipe that my dad prepares, for the family anytime we have any big family dinners. And he passed it down to me. I remember I was on vacation, for a couple days on 4th of July in Miami with Joe and a couple of my teammates. We went to work out at House of Athletes. And I asked my dad, I said, can I please have the recipe? Is it my time to finally have the recipe? He was like, okay, you can have the recipe.
You've entered true adulthood when your parents are giving you the family recipe. So congrats. You've definitely matured into adulthood.
Was there some spice to it? Like what?
No, it's kind of a sweet Southern type of deal.
You can't give away
I can't give it too much. But I can
you're not telling me the ingredient. I'm just trying to taste it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the sweet and tangy that you would take with like barbecue.
Yeah, great with barbecue. It's great with anything, honestly. You have rice with it. It's good for cookouts, good for Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday. I'm sure he'll make it. My mom's probably requesting it right now. So
who wins on Sunday?
I got the Eagles winning on Sunday. I think
it's going to be a really good game.
Start to finish this year.
Yeah,
that's the best team.
I mean, I know it's going to be a great game, exciting game, but I got a personal reason why I want the Eagles to win. I have one of my childhood friends, Mac McCain, who plays for the Eagles, so I definitely want him to go out there and win a ring. But also I have Trey Smith, PFL, so that's big bro. So I definitely want to see him get one too. But I think the Eagles win.
Best of luck with everything. I know luck is less involved than your hard work that you've put in, but your attitude through all this, from being the backup, now the injury, the leadership qualities really, I felt like showed out in
there's
Mobile.
Few more deserving than you are for a great career.
Yes,
so best of luck
moving
forward.
Thank you.
Hendon Hooker has been our guest. Stay tuned. More coming from Radio Row here at Super Bowl 57.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, like, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And I think the easy answer is it's the right thing to do. Like, I mean, when the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C Spray were asking in this interview is, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But C Spray was asked a question that I think is important and we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, like, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI. Like, what are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world could learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around who will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? They said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward, and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. Everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story is represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. It started in February. We had sea sprayers on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold. And then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, days after the invasion. And originally we went there to see, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And, one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
Coming up in less than 15 minutes, Armando Salguero will join us here on Radio Row, plus Tim Brown, Sean Merriman, and more as OutKick 360 continues. 11-year offensive tackle veteran from the NFL, Marshall Newhouse, sits down with the Super Bowl champ with the Green Bay Packers, recently retired, doing some great things with the TCU program. His Frogs doing great things on the field. Great to have you, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here, taking all this in and trying not to lose yourselves a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it's a whirlwind, right?
It is. It's a lot of stuff.
So are you keeping up with Aaron Rodgers and everything going on there with the saga? Or does that interest you as a former teammate of his?
It interests me from a personal level. Like, I just want good things for him. He's a good person, I know, and I know that to be true. And regardless of how football goes or whatever, I want his life to continue to be excellent. And so whatever he decides to do on his retreat, however he decides to kind of find whatever he's looking for, we all have our own journeys, and I'm just not in a place of judgment, so I just want what's best for him. And I want to see him play more ball and win more games. So hopefully that's what the conclusion he comes to. But whatever he decides, you know, I just have support for him as a former teammate.
But you're not signing up for a 4-day isolation retreat,
Man,
just to be clear?
4 hours in darkness, and I'm starting to talk to myself. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's crazy. I always feel like with a quarterback, in terms of how you rate them as a teammate, you just go ask their offensive line. Mm-hmm. If you're cool with the offensive line, you're cool.
Yeah.
Right? You're a good teammate.
My barometer was always, could I have a beer with you?
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys.
Well, it's also how they treat their offensive linemen, how they talk to them during the game, on the sideline, everything. What was Aaron Rodgers like?
No, he was great. And that's kind of the funny thing when you hear comments about, does he hang out with people outside? I'm like, guys have their own lives. Aaron is, 38, 39 now. Rookies who come in the league are 20, 21. There's a gap there. There's a difference in life segments that they're in. And so I didn't pay too much attention to that because he'd come with us to O-line dinners sometimes, and he also kept to himself other times. He had family and friends around. So, you know, it's just a weird thing for someone to be petty about. And for fans who are on the outside looking in, guys don't hang out with each other all the time. Like, there's so many strong personalities. I got taught this lesson early by my cousin Robert Newhouse and my dad. Like, you're not going to be friends with everyone in the locker room. You're about trying to get better as a teammate and play with each other, have a good working relationship at minimum, and then hopefully you make some friends off the field. And I've averaged 2 to 3 guys who I could call right now if I need anything. To me, that's a great sign of success. And I definitely just want people to realize that that's not the norm. Not everyone has to be best friends with everybody. That's just not how it goes.
Marshall Newhouse, our guest. I was joking yesterday. What if he goes on this retreat and sees a vision and it says Chicago Bears?
Oh, God.
Or San Francisco 49ers.
Can you imagine that discussion?
Chances
with
are
Bay,
that's not going to happen.
The Packers front office, if he comes in and says that, hey, the division, this is what the division said. You got to trade me in the division.
There's a lot of people who are supporting him. If he did that in division, there'd be a lot of people who turn heel. So I don't see him going in division if that.
Yeah.
But hopefully he gets some clarity. I'm not sure what your substance of choice or what your retreat of choice would be, but we probably all have our dithers, whatever you call it, and he's chosen that, so good for him.
So it's always the unexpected joy in sports that's the most fun when there's not a lot of expectation. So what was that ride like in Sonny Dykes' first year at TCU this year, where you're picked, I think 7th maybe in the Big 12 coming in the season, sort of middle of the pack to bottom of the pack to go all the way to the national championship game?
I mean, you called them the Cardiac Frogs, just the way they were winning games, stuff like that. But even before that, there was optimism because I feel like people would start settling into it being a good hire, but you just don't know. 20 years of Gary Patterson, things are going to be different in so many different facets. So everyone was still in this, collecting themselves phase. You can't even really think about what football is going to look like. And so I started this role with Frogs Today, doing a pregame, postgame show, getting to know the players, getting to know the staff, and you're seeing all the differences. The new D coordinator is running a 3-3-5. You're like, I haven't seen that in my entire career at TCU. That's going to be weird to get used to. Well, they had some struggles early on, and getting behind the teams, but they adapted. And so you saw this team galvanize. You had your starting QB out of camp get hurt. This team galvanized around Max Duggan, who I don't know if there's another quarterback you could have brought in off your bench and then to lead the team to a season like this, to an undefeated regular season. Not without the Big 12 championship, but lead them to a national championship. So it was just really, really special. You could tell when they got down. I'll talk about the Oklahoma State game. You watch the sideline, and Sonny Dykes is not a screamer. He's not a yeller. You could tell the team took after that. You could tell these guys, their heads weren't down. It was kind of just like, okay.
They reflected their head coach.
Exactly. They follow the head coach, and they each time that something weird was happening, there was no panic. And that's not something you can assume from a bunch of 17, 18, 19-year-olds. That's tough to do. You see NFL guys freaking out. So the fact that, they were responding in really healthy ways, now you got to go do it. You got to shut people down on defense to come back and go score points. But they continue to do it, and it didn't always look pretty. And, when we start talking about the playoffs and how important that is, people had, valid points about where they were and all that stuff. But they continue to win. They're like, let's just win. Let's figure out the rest. But we'll do our part and win, and they did it. So as a former player, as an alumni, it was just incredible to see and made me very, very proud.
You live in Austin, around a lot of Longhorn fans, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, how awkward is this whole process of delaying the exit to the SEC for another 2 years? What's that been like living in Austin?
I mean, it's not weird for everybody else. It's weird for them because, they're moving on to greener pastures strictly for money. Let's just call it what it is. And now they're getting hamstrung. They thought they could hit the eject button in the Big 12, and Fox was like, not so fast. And so now they're going to have to figure stuff out, play in the new Big 12 for at least another 2 years, and then hopefully hopefully they want to leave and they'll be let go. But it is a little awkward generally of like, hey, you had your own network and there's a money disparity in the athletic departments. You wanted to leave, take more money. Okay, we get it. But now you're going to suffer a little bit of the embarrassment of like not being in complete control of your destiny. So it's funny to me as a different team other than UT. But they'll win out. They're doing okay in recruiting, but as we've seen in Texas's past, that doesn't always equate to wins. So they got to continue to do it on the field in the current Big 12, and then we can talk about the SEC when that comes.
Marshall Newhouse has been our guest. Final 30 seconds here. The matchup on Sunday between Chris Jones and that Philadelphia offensive line. Are you going to be focused on that?
Yeah, the trenches in general, but the Philly O-line has been the most dominant all season. Lane Johnson, Mailata, Jason Kelsey. But Chris Jones is a unique, gifted pass rusher. And what he does, as the game settles down, he starts to match up hunt. So if he sees a weak link there, I think on the left side, Mailata and Dickerson, they have trouble with games, and Dickerson himself has trouble in pass protection. So I pay attention and see if Chris Jones spots something. He wants to take advantage on a third down, get a sack, get a rush, get a hurry, and he can impact the game absolutely. But, Eagles' line has been dominant. We'll see if they have to throw the ball, if they can stay dominant, because they like to run block.
Yeah.
And this is the best quarterback that team has played, so maybe Pat Mahomes gets ahead. They got to play a different style of game.
Marshall, pleasure, man.
Yeah, appreciate
Marshall
it, guys.
Newhouse has
Thanks,
been
Marshall.
our
Appreciate
guest.
Appreciate it.
Hour number 2 in the books. Coming up, we will chat with Sean Merriman and more, and Tim Brown's also in hour 2. But when we come back, we kick it off with Armando Salguero on-site Radio Row Super Bowl 57 on the OutKick Network.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
It just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking there's going to be practice the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all of this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine, but you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude. The Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Coming up in 20 minutes, Pro Football Hall of Famer Tim Brown will join us, plus Sean Merriman on the show. Just like that, Chad. The final hour is here from Radio Row at Super Bowl 57. And the CEO is with us, Armando Salguero.
The NFL, let's see how many letters we can get this. The NFL CEO, BMOC, if we're on a college campus.
From MIA.
He's that also. From MIA. Our good friend and weekly guest on OutKick 360, Armando Salguero. Hud, it's amazing we have to go to a Super Bowl, to catch up in person with Armando.
Well, look at the suit.
That's the way it goes annually.
Yeah, so the suit, there's a reason for it. I'm maitre d''ing later on this evening, making a few extra bucks at a local restaurant, so I'm going to do that.
You look the part.
If you're doing that, then we're washing the dishes
when
in
I
the
saw
back.
you, When I saw you walking, Armando, I'm thinking, please tell me he didn't get dressed up for us.
No.
On Radio Row. And I was thrilled to know that's not the case. Yeah.
No. Actually, tonight is NFL Honors, and so they don't allow schlubs in there apparently, and so you gotta actually wear clothes that isn't denim, and here I am with my polyester.
Who's going to accept the award for Patrick Mahomes MVP tonight?
Wow, look at you! You're like.
I mean, we've known for a month and a half.
Hard hitting.
All but 2 votes?
I voted for him. And, I mean, do we disagree?
No.
He deserves it, no?
Yes. Well, it's just like people are like, oh, it's Mahomes or Hurts. I'm like, no, it's Mahomes.
Yeah, remember it was early on, Lamar, Hurts.
Allen.
Boy, Josh Allen. He fell off.
We haven't mentioned him in a while, have we?
Hurts was definitely the last to fall off, right,
yes.
in terms of the race. No doubt about that.
Absolutely, and I understand it. I mean, the guy threw, 25 touchdown passes or something like that, and then ran for 1,000 yards and did a bunch of damage, and he played on the best team in the NFC. So I get I get the debate, but it's a quarterback.
Oh, it's
a quarterback.
Yeah, that's right. Armando Salguero with us. OutKick.com. He'll have full coverage of the game on Sunday. And had full coverage yesterday of the state of the NFL presser from Roger Goodell, and it struck a chord with you as you sat there with all of the woke initiatives that Goodell was pointing out. You wrote about it this morning.
Yeah. So, obviously, it's hard when you're okay. So, ageism.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL, if you're older, they're going younger and at your expense, by the way. They obviously went with Amazon. They obviously are going to YouTube for the Sunday Ticket. And what is happening is they are off broadcast television because younger people are on the streaming platforms. And what they don't mention when they tell you we want to attract those younger people is that the older people oftentimes have trouble figuring out those, streaming services. And so they are making the obvious switch from one age group to another on purpose. They obviously are leaning towards what Roger Goodell calls diversity. And I get it, man. Look, I don't look the same as you guys, right? So diversity is...
You look better.
No.
Well,
yeah,
you make us look better right now.
Let's just state the obvious. Yeah.
But you know what? I want people to be hired because they are better. I don't want them to be hired because of what they look like. And definitely, the NFL loves their accelerator program, and it's a great program. The Tennessee Titans made a great hire in Rand Carthon because of that program. But what the NFL doesn't tell you is, in bringing in those minority candidates to meet ownership, they are doing that for a certain group of people, but not for another group of people. And I just don't think that diversity needs to happen when you are lifting up one group and stepping on another group. That's what we came from. We don't need to continue to do that in reverse.
Well, and speaking of where we came from and where we are now, something that really resonated reading your piece with me was two black quarterbacks going head-to-head in the same game. I did not know that was still a thing until someone wrote about it. But any notion that anyone cares what the quarterback looks like in the NFL is just ridiculous in 2023. Was this a thing many years ago? Sure. And did it cause some problems before? I'm sure it did. But now, does anyone really even buy that people are looking at quarterbacks differently based on their race? I didn't even think about it as an example when it was Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes going head-to-head.
The actual question in the press conference was, Roger, you've played 57 Super Bowls. Why did it take so long to have two black starting quarterbacks? And Goodell said, well, you know what? That it's a bad thing that it took so long. What he should have said was, we have playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
They get there when they get there. The reason they haven't, and it hasn't happened before, is two guys from two different conferences didn't get there. Simple as that.
It's weird that he's so, because I heard that question and answer, and to me what struck me was, it's odd how quick he is to lay down on certain things, right?
Well,
if it's a question in that vein, then he just lays down and says, well, it's our fault. What? And I'm thinking, you don't say that about any, when the question about officials comes up, he's not admitting any fault at all with the officials or his system, but yet quick to lay down when it comes to that issue.
But I think here's what he's doing. He's not answering questions about Deshaun Watson like he was last year. He's not answering questions about the diversity and the Rooney Rule and the hiring process like he was in a couple of years ago, right? Because they've now tried to adjust all this. And, what he's done is he's ensured that everyone else in here isn't talking about what Roger Goodell said yesterday when it comes to race in the quarterback position. Right. It was not a storyline based on the way he answered it. And that's why he did it that way.
And oh, by the way, it was a tortured answer, because he starts talking about how well, we have 11 black starting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And everybody says they run the ball really well. Oh,
yeah.
my God. Really, Roger? That's where you're going with this? And what I think he said is that they are great leaders, and they're really smart, and they can run offenses that are very complex. So basically, the white guy is talking about, how the black guys have gone from running really, really fast to now they're actually smart.
Yeah.
And I just got.
It was awkward.
It creeped me out a little bit.
It was awkward.
It really creeped me out.
But I don't. He's giving the answer that the media wants. That's asking that question. Because let's be honest here, he's standing up there, and there are two things that they want. They owners, GMs, whatever, Goodell. They want to make a boatload of money. And Amazon's paying $1 billion for Thursday night. No one's turning that down, even if you'd like to stay on broadcast TV for the Thursday night football package. Number two, they want to win. And that's why the quarterbacks are played ahead of other QBs in this day and age. But he's giving the answer so that he placates to whatever storyline that is trying to be written that day about the issues that and the spin that the media wants to make it.
Right. Look, we've got a situation in the NFL where there is still a coach, in fact, several coaches, who have sued the league and various teams for racial discrimination. And that is going to be very interesting when it gets heard in 2038. It's going to be super great. But it's going to be very hard to prove, because I would say to you that racial discrimination institutionally in the NFL, I mean, show it to me, prove it to me. And I don't believe that hiring quotas is the answer for anything. And I don't believe that just because Team A didn't choose a minority, that makes them racist. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I just believe the best in people. Now, if one of those coaches has won a Super Bowl and he's been undefeated in the past and has more experience than the other one, and that coach is black or Hispanic or Asian or Martian, and the other guy's a white guy, and the white guy with no experience, no record, and no resume got hired, now I'm starting to look at that sideways. But how often does that happen? Does that happen? Because I don't know any examples of that.
Well, Jeff Saturday.
Jeff Saturday would be the one if that goes full time.
But everyone's cool with Irsay because he took a stand against the Washington Commanders and Daniel Snyder.
He was the one. He was the one to speak
up.
So
no one's calling.
He paid his
out.
time. What we're saying is he paid his time with the media on that issue, and now he can go do whatever
he
he
wants.
wants.
A Hall of Fame head coach in his past, and Tony Dungy.
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. The Indianapolis Colts are a mess. Irsay is out there.
Yes.
The Saturday thing was an interim thing, and if he picks Jeff Saturday as the head coach,
it's way more about dysfunction and the bad direction that place is headed because of their owner meddling now and being overly involved, and to me less about racism, right, with the white guy getting the job. In that instance, not that that's the case everywhere. Two other things you get into in the column, though, globalism, the ageism part of it. I think those two are less about, wanting to be woke and more about just wanting to make as much money as possible for the NFL. But they do that at the expense of the fan. I think you made a good point, Armando, about games going to Germany and England and how that affects the local fan or, the fan that's been a fan for 40, 50 years of a certain NFL team. It's almost like the NFL is saying, we have you. You're not going anywhere. We can mess with you a little bit. We got to go get these guys in Munich.
It's not just the fans. I mean, it's cities and towns. The NFL has decided that at some point, not this year, not next year, maybe not 3 years from now, but within this decade, they want to have teams in Europe, right? And they want to have more than one. They want to have a European division where they maybe have 2 teams in London, 2 teams in Germany. Okay, that's fine. So what about San Antonio? And what about Orlando? And what about St. Louis? And what about San Diego? So you want those teams over there. What about the teams over here? Those teams here will also make you money. Those teams here will also raise profits. So what about here?
Well, some of those cities are screwing over their fans too. Just ask San Diego Chargers fans about that. The NFL didn't screw them over. San Diego did.
Well, you know what? Maybe.
If we're looking at it from that lens.
Well, if we're looking at it, we're also looking at it as what ownership approved for San Diego. Because the fact of the matter is, you had Miami and San Diego both asked local governments to build stadiums. Both Miami and San Diego told the teams, go pound sand.
Yep.
We're not doing a thing. One owner took his stadium and redid it at the cost of $500 million, and now it's a premier stadium again.
Yeah.
The other owner decided, I'm not spending a penny.
He's going to pay rent to the Rams.
And be in a city where nobody really cares about them, nobody really roots for them, nobody really wants them, and it's kind of like a yawn that the San Diego Chargers no longer exist and now play in Los Angeles as the Los Angeles Chargers.
Armando, you'll be at the game Sunday covering it for OutKick. What are you, instead of asking your pick, what are you most looking forward to seeing in this game as you prepare to watch?
Yeah, thank you for not asking my pick because it's always going to be wrong. It's an awesome opportunity.
Well, look, I'm saving
it
for the website too. You're probably going to write it or write about it, so I'll leave that for that content.
He'll write about it post game and say you got it right.
Yeah,
right.
This was actually the score I picked. It was 31-27. Yeah. I just forgot to file it on the site, but that's what I wrote.
Absolutely. So, look, this is going to be a game where I think that the Eagles are going to be and look like the more complete team. And for the Kansas City Chiefs to win, they need a superhero. And that superhero has to be named Patrick and Mahomes. And that's it. And if Patrick Mahomes is a superhero on that day, the Chiefs will be fine. And if not, the better team will win.
Let me ask a follow-up on that because I think you also might have to have another superhero named Travis and Kelsey to go along with that for the Chiefs to get this win. And we know he's capable also.
Absolutely. And by the way, it's going to be interesting because the Eagles have a great front seven. They're going to attack Mahomes, and they have a very good secondary, and they can cover tight ends. And we saw that George Kittle last week or 2 weeks ago was, just a guy. He was, and I get it. He didn't have a quarterback with him that day.
That could throw a 4.
That could throw for 4 yards. But you know what? They've done it to more than one team this year.
Armando Salguero has been our guest. Always great to see you and catch up.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I'll take your orders now and get you a good table tonight.
We'll both have the Chilean sea bass.
Of course you will.
Yes.
Yes. Very, very healthy.
Chad will take a drink with light ice as well.
Yes.
Very specific.
And warm fruit. If we're going to have dessert, the fruit must be warm. Thanks, Armando.
All right, man.
The CEO, Armando Salguero. He's got coverage from NFL Honors tonight, and then, of course, Super Bowl Sunday between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Coming up, Pro Football Hall of Famer Tim Brown will sit down with us, and also Sean Merriman just around the corner in 15 minutes. Thanks for listening to OutKick 360.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's a punter or a kicker. I'll have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, a long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. Was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really pushed the
Aaron
limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers going to be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life, I graduated college in 2000, and working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl, and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like, it's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on.
Yeah.
But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future, and does this, and I'll ask you this, because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa, we can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system, and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? Can
I'm
that
excited.
Happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, Monken, I think, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
Glad you're with us across the OutKick network for OutKick 360. Pleased to be joined at our broadcast site here on Radio Row, Pro Football Hall of Famer Tim Brown and Michael Crawford, who is the CEO of Hall of Fame Village and their Perfect 10 project presented by Prudential. Guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Tell us about the project.
Well, I'll tell you, from my standpoint, man, it's been a labor of love. It really has been, And back in 2015, I'm getting ready to go do my Hall of Fame speech, and I have a buddy to come up to me and say, hey, did you know that you're only the 9th guy to be a Heisman winner in the Hall of Fame? I was like, dude, 40, 50 guys have done that. What's wrong with you, And literally on the bus ride to my enshrinement speech, I'm Googling up how many guys have won the Heisman. And at that time, they hadn't added me. And so I was shocked, man. But my immediate thought went to, wow, what an incredible legacy that is for a football field. But can we match that off the field? How can we get together and, form a foundation and partner with great people like Michael and Hall of Fame Village and Prudential, NFL Films and, Fox and do something great, man. And so that was the beginning of all that. And going to the premiere on Saturday, we're very happy that we've accomplished some of the things that we want to accomplish, but we're hoping that this is the beginning of something big that, as H2H legends, we can give back to the communities around the country.
We've been to the Hall of Fame, Hutton, and Michael, what you guys are doing at Hall of Fame Village, impressive. There's a lot going on right now.
There's a ton going on. I'll tell you, we're creating physical experiences, and then we're creating experiences for media and gaming. And when Tim called me, and I think it was 19, and it was a Sunday afternoon, he says, hey, I got something I want to run by you. About 30 seconds later, I said, we're in. We'll fund this thing, and we'll be happy to tell this story, because our tagline is honor the past and inspire the future. This guy does both of those things. So I think everybody's going to really love seeing this H2H Perfect 10 premiere for sure.
Tommy Rees leaving for Alabama. It was a talking point on our show, Tim, simply because my initial reaction was, if Nick Saban in Alabama can get a 30-year-old offensive coordinator who played quarterback at Notre Dame to leave Notre Dame after 1 year, where he stayed on and did not leave with Brian Kelly, who was unattainable for Nick Saban in Alabama? That was my initial thought. I know you have thoughts on it as well.
Well, I hear a lot of money was involved with that deal, NIL money and all that kind of stuff. So maybe a lot more than he would ever get at Notre Dame for sure. But look, I absolutely think this is the best thing for Tommy Rees. I think he's going to be in an offense where he can literally pick a play and it's going to work because of the talent he has in the field. And look, you do that 2 or 3 years, you go get a head coaching job someplace, and you build from there. So I think that's the plan. I don't necessarily disagree with the plan. I just think in a place like Alabama, this is going to be a great spot for him.
Marcus Freeman, what do you think of him and the job he's done in a short amount of time?
I love Marcus, I really do, and I think the love is so deep because you want so much for him to get it done on so many different levels. So, at the same time, he knows, you can't win, you can't lose at home to Marshall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't, those things can happen again. You get that one shot. So, look, I think from that standpoint, everybody understands that. That's why you go out and get a Sam Hartman, and, who they bring in at offensive coordinator is going to be huge. And I think, you go from there. But at the same time, the love affair is over, and it rightfully should be. And now it's time to go get the work done. Got to go win.
You're a Raider. A Raider is a Raider.
Yeah.
But is there an amount of times a team can move that lessens the experience for a fan base? Because I'm thinking about people with connections to the LA Raiders, then the Oakland Raiders, and then the Oakland Raiders again, a second go around, and now to get behind the city of Las Vegas, does it even matter anymore? Simply because the iconic silver and black, you could put them anywhere at this point and it doesn't matter, or does it eventually lessen the experience?
Well, look, that only happened because of their relationship, a bad relationship with the NFL. If the NFL would have done what they were supposed to do, the Raiders would have been in Oakland forever. But that's a whole other story. But the Raiders didn't want to go to Vegas. I was up with the president at the time. The guy had tears in his eyes because he didn't want to leave, but they were really given no choice because the league wouldn't do what they were supposed to do. The city of Oakland was giving them problems, and the Oakland A's were giving them problems. So, and playing on that baseball field is not what you want to be doing as a football player. So, look, yes, I do believe what's happening now with the Raiders, their fan base. The fan base is still very strong, but they can't afford the tickets that you have in Vegas. So when you go there, it's 60-40 now. It's not 95-5. It's 60-40. 55-45 sometimes it feels like, and that's not something that you're used to seeing because people were afraid to wear their colors to the Coliseum because you literally,
which was great for you guys on the field.
It was absolutely great. You know what I mean? And but yeah, so I think from that standpoint, it makes what the players have to do a lot tougher. But it's a situation they find themselves in. I talked to Josh Jacobs earlier today, and he's thrilled about being in Vegas because there's a lot going on that they can get involved with off the field.
Tim, whenever the start to your career really took off around year 6, if I'm not mistaken. You had the numbers really cranked up in the latter portion of the first decade. The patience that was with that, could that be done today with players?
It would be very tough.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because of social media and the pressure that teams would be getting from fans, it would be very tough. But, I think what the Raiders saw in me, I had the incredible rookie year. I tore my knee up my second year. Third year, I got better, right? I returned punts, returned a punt for a touchdown. My fourth year, my contract year, got a little better. Numbers went up. Everybody saw that I was getting better. And really, I should have been starting then, but Al had said that I wasn't going to start anymore. I was going to be the best third down receiver, punt returner that ever played a game. That's what he said. And so I go into 92. Everybody knows I should be the starter, but it doesn't happen until Mervin gets hurt, and then everything takes off for me. So, I don't know. I think I would have my fourth year would have probably been my last year with the Raiders, and there would have been a lot of pressure to get me out and get me over to let somebody else come in.
Yeah. Is there something about Al Davis that's not documented that people wouldn't know? Because I feel like he's the owner that everyone has talked about.
Be careful.
And there's documentaries about him and everything else.
He will come back and hit the back of the head.
I mean, is there anything about the man and your dealings with him that would surprise anyone?
No, look, I think he had a very unusual way of motivating his great players. When you look at Hendricks, when you look at Fred Biletnikoff, when you look at Marcus Allen, look at myself, none of us had a relationship with him. I never went out to dinner with him, never had a drink with him, never ever. In my 16 years, I played more games for him than anybody in the history of the Raiders. And I never had that kind of relationship with him. And I resented that for a long time. A lot of what I did on the football field was because I was trying to prove to this guy that I was a guy, I was a man, I was,
You were worthy.
I was, and it never happened.
Wow.
But all of us are Hall of Famers, And it took, my wife was very upset with me because in my speech, I did not recognize Al Davis. Because at that time, I was like, well, he tried to hurt me, he whatever. But a couple years later, I was getting ready to go into the California Hall of Fame. Mark Davis was there. I had a conversation with him before the ceremony, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. What if Al Davis would have came and put his arms around you? Would you have leveled off? Would you have gone down? The fact that he did what he did kept you doing this.
Yeah.
So for the 400 people in the room, I said, hey, 399 of y'all can leave the room. I'm talking to one man. And for 20 minutes, I spoke to Mark Davis. It wasn't really an apology, but it was like, let me explain to you my thought process and why I did what I did. And, I think since that time, I felt better about the relationship with Al because I believe he did what he did to make me the player that I was.
Get the most out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Check out the Perfect 10 project presented by Prudential, and Michael Crawford has been our guest CEO of Hall of Fame Village, Pro Football Hall of Famer Tim Brown. And I can't wait to watch this, the Heisman to the Hall and everything in between. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it should be good.
Should be good. Story.
No doubt. We're very excited about it. These guys, Earl and Tony, around here today.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal. It's a phenomenal thing, man. So I think we're looking forward to it, and hopefully everybody will like it as much as we do.
It's right up our alley for sure. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
For swinging by.
Thanks for having us.
Stay tuned. A lot more coming from Radio Row across the OutKick Network. This is OutKick 360. And it continues live on Radio Row with Lights Out. Sean Merriman, who joins us live on site from Super Bowl 57 at the Convention Center in Phoenix. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, same here. Thanks
no stranger to the show. We appreciate you as always.
Absolutely. Yeah, used to do the weekly spots.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Radio, man, it's pretty good.
It's funny. We just got done talking with our previous guest about the San Diego Chargers move to the LA Chargers, and then here walks Lights Out, Sean Merriman, who knows a thing or two about the different level of interest between both cities with the Chargers that I'm sure you've seen firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. San Diego is the best place to live in the country. I'll argue with anybody when it comes to that. But I think that the move was successful, and playing in San Diego and watching the fans slowly migrate, because you had some fans that we're not supporting the team in LA, right? And every year to go by, they start trying to kind of trickle up a little bit. And now, because you have a team with Justin Herbert, he's going to be good for the next decade. You got the Mike Williams there, the Ecklers. So the morale, the energy is different in the stadium in SoFi now.
We had DeMarcus Ware on earlier this week, and your name came up because you were drafted right after him. Mm-hmm. That entire first round is insane.
Yeah.
The amount of talent in that draft that year.
Well, it's funny because I just finished doing Dallas Cowboys thing over there right now, and they were asking me about that draft. And, Jerry Jones and Bill Parcells did tell me they were going to draft me. But also, there were 2 teams in the first 10 picks that told me the same thing. So at that point, I'm like, yeah, all of them are going to draft.
Well, and the Cowboys had 2 picks in that first round.
They had 2 picks,
year,
right? Because they picked Marcus Spears
later.
I
think 21 overall.
Yeah, 21 overall. And so the Cowboys, at the time the Redskins, now the Commanders, they told me the same thing. So it was the Cowboys weren't the only ones, and the Chargers had also told me the same thing. So I'm thinking I'm going to one of these 4 teams in the top 15. And I think the bigger story, because I actually did talk to Jerry Jones and Bill Parcells, is the one that's out there.
Have you thought about how things could be different if you were a Cowboy?
No. I mean,
are you thinking about it now that he's asked?
Maybe
you gave it a second.
No, I was thinking
because Ware said he would have gone to San Diego had they drafted you. It was just kind of a flip flop.
100%. Maybe no state tax. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you've got your own fight promotion now. And I mean the amount of effort and money involved to back that.
Yeah.
What made you decide to jump in from this angle to actually jump in and push fights now on pay-per-view and everything else you've got going on?
Yeah, well, I started training back in 2005 and 2006 with Jay Glazer, actually. So Jay, I grew up boxing. I had boxers in my family, and Jay said, hey, I think you should pick up MMA to get better as an outside linebacker and pass rusher. I said, look, whatever I got to do to be a better pass rusher, I'll do that. So he shot me an address. The next day I showed up in the gym, and Jay Glazer's right here, and Randy Couture's on my right. And so I'm looking at Jay like, hey, I'm not fighting Randy Couture today. I just want you to know that.
On day one.
On day one. I'm just learning. It's not going to happen. And so I started to train with a lot of these guys every single offseason, and I fell in love with the sport. So in 2018, I launched Lights Out Extreme Fighting. We are now on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. So if you guys don't have Fubo, get it. But we just had a big fight in Riverside, January 14th, and moved into the top 10 most watched on Fubo Sports ever. So that was cool for me. You're right. It's a grind, man. But that I never really believed that quote when somebody says, if you love what you do, it's not work. I believe it, right? Because I actually love what I'm doing. Love being around these fighters. And one of the hardest transitions for any former athlete when you get done is they'll tell you that they miss the locker room. And I'm around these fighters a lot, which is also therapeutic for me.
Well, and it's pretty incredible because so many players, especially ones that had your level of success, could walk away from their career and do a little bit of nothing for a long time and not take on a venture like this. So how did it go from Jay Glazer get you training to be, with MMA to be a better pass rusher to I'm going to start a promotion and I want to work with fighters? How quickly did that passion grow for you, even over the course of your NFL playing career?
Well, the funny part to me is there's no bigger stage than the NFL, right? The production, you go out and you see the cameras flying over the top of the screen, the smoke, the lights, everything else. And so you already get a taste of how big production works. And then going straight into TV when I got done, being over at Fox and getting on TV, radio, and getting those repetitions. So now you start understanding how TV goes and how, ins and outs and the satellite trucks and just the production quality of that. And I said, hold on, these are two things I love to death, right? Love being on TV, the production stuff, and I also know this sport. And the passion of me training and still being, even now, I'll go and train with guys all the time. Now, I got limitations in, what I'll do, but I'll still go and train. So I love growing this brand and, more importantly, give these up-and-coming fighters an opportunity to go and show their talents. And when they find out the numbers that we produced on Fubo, now these fighters and everyone else come and fight in the card.
Check out Lights Out Extreme Fighting. Sean Merriman with us on OutKick 360. Could you play in today's game with the rules the way they are? Could Sean Merriman be Sean Merriman?
Yeah, but I would be playing for free. Yeah, like, you know,
all the fines.
Yeah, the fines. I would, before every game, I would walk right up to the office and just sign my game check over. You know, it's one of these things that I love the fact that the NFL they've done a great job in protecting the fighter. I mean, protecting the players with the helmet to helmet. I love that because back when I was playing, the information wasn't out there about the trauma and the possible things that could happen to you down the road if you're not protecting your head. I don't like the extra stuff, the taunting, right?
Yeah.
The penalties, laying the quarterback down. You can't lay on them. You can't swing them down. You can't drag them down. You can't touch them.
Drive into them.
You can't drive. So when the reason why I started playing football is because you can do anything you want to anybody, right? As long as you get them on the ground, that was the key. And now it's becoming how do you decide in those split seconds when that guy is about to go make a big play?
So we had Brian Dawkins on.
Tough,
this is what I want to ask you about. We had him on earlier.
Yeah.
Brian Dawkins, obviously known as a big hitter. And he was talking about that to turn that mindset off. And we were asking about guys that are younger today. And he said, well, the advantage is they've always been taught that way, to not necessarily lay the big hit so they can change their body and contort it. But when you decide, hey, I'm going to hit this guy, you know, then something happens where, I mean, to me it sounds impossible to turn that mentality in a split second off to I'm going to level him and get him to the ground to I better go chest up, head back, and just wrestle him to the ground now when I'm getting there fast, right?
Well, you know, as you just said, the difficult part in that is you have to start young. There's no way as an adult. You've been playing the game this way for this long, 15 years, right? Guys, in 20 years you've been playing. I was playing football at 11 years old. So you're telling me now that I have to switch my mentality from what I used to get applauded for, right? Remember my nickname was Lights Out. I used to.
And the NFL, by the way, heralded that. Right, they made money about the jacked up segments.
I mean,
they would promote the big hits. Every network would promote the big hits. That's stopped now.
But who didn't like Jacked Up?
I love it.
That was one of my favorite shows, and I get it that they're trying to get away from the big hits, collisions, and those type of things. But that's why we love football in this country. That's why we love the brutality of it. We love the gladiatorness, like that. We love that part of it. That's why it's the biggest sport in this country. So there are some elements that you have to keep there to keep. That's why you have a fan crying after a loss, or happy, or don't want to go to work, or don't want to leave the house for a week, because the emotions of the game of football get you tied into it, and it's because you have these two big gladiator guys out there trying to take each other out, and that's why we love the sport.
You mentioned the Lights Out nickname.
Yeah.
Will you tell the audience who maybe doesn't know the backstory of that, the knockout power of Sean Merriman?
Yeah, I knocked out 4 guys my sophomore year in high school. And I remember about 20.
What a great start.
Yeah.
4 guys, sophomore year of high school.
Yeah, I was 173 pounds. And I had about 20 students come run up to me after the game. They said, oh, you knocked those guys lights out. And I just said, hey, yeah, call me Lights Out. Didn't think nothing of it, right? I got in school Monday. This was pre-social media, pre-YouTube, and people were calling me Lights. And I went home that day, and I begged my mom to let me get a Lights Out tattoo on my forearm. And she said, boy, get the hell out the room, is what she said, right? And so every day for 2 weeks, I said, we got to get this tattoo. So she let me get the tattoo, and I got the Lights Out switch on my right forearm tattoo, and that's where the Lights Out dance came from, flicking a switch on and off.
Are you cool with Dana White? Or is anything?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if anyone trying to do anything else in that avenue that he would be
they're so
confrontational
big.
with.
They're so big and so global, man. I don't think they really care. About, I mean, they're so big, and they're such a big brand globally all over the world.
Yeah.
It's no real competition in the sport. In fact,
But has he been helpful to you in the conversations you've had, talking to you about the business?
It's my fault because he always tells me to come and see him.
Yeah.
Because I live in Vegas. I spend a lot of time in Vegas. And so he always tells me to come see him. I haven't yet, so I do plan on it. But, yeah, they had a big fight in San Diego. I was sitting with Dana the whole entire fight. We were sitting together. So I've been around this sport for 17 years. Back in my first fight I went to was like back in 2005, right? And when I was around all these guys. All the biggest fights, they used to come to the Chargers games. I used to give them tickets, and in return, I used to go and train with them in the off seasons.
When's your next event?
April 8th. In Burbank, California.
Okay.
I announced that card next week on lightsoutxf.com, but also, too, it will be live on Fubo TV and Fubo Sports.
See, that's where the stress comes in for me if I were in his place, because promoting this, I'm worried about injuries for training.
Yeah.
Card falling out and how you replace all these moving parts, or guy misses weight, whatever.
Yeah.
there's a ton of stress behind it for sure. Didn't you almost go to WWE?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, no. So I did I actually hosted the WrestleMania before when it was in New Orleans.
Okay. Oh yes.
I did a pay-per-view with them in San Diego.
Right, yeah.
The one night stand. I was on a part of the show. So it was always destined I was going to work with them in some capacity. They just launched WWE Network at the time, so it was a lot going on. But I went down and trained in Orlando at the Performance Center, which is great. I mean, they got a great facility out there. So it's never really off the table with me. So I still train.
Would you possibly go back to that at some point?
I would. Depending on the situation, probably more on the broadcasting side. But who knows, man? I still talk to them a lot. I talk to a lot of the guys over there at WWE.
Well, what made me think the Lights Out dances made me think of Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
It's a very similar deal, and it translates. Like, you could bring over the whole persona of that.
Yeah.
And that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah, and they wanted it. And so it's not off the table. I still
cool.
talk to those guys over there, and hopefully maybe some time down the road we can work together.
We need to get out to California, Chad, at some point and catch one of these.
I'd love to watch one of your cards.
Are you strictly California?
Yeah, right now we are
for the license.
For the license, but also we're talking to Texas right now. We'll be in San Antonio at some point, and probably New Orleans, Tennessee as well.
Sorry, but what's the stress level like for you on fight night? Because it's not just the card and the fighters and the venue and the event. Now it's Fubo TV, Fubo Sports, making sure everything's working properly, it's connected, and then someone's checking that and making sure the stream is going out. There's a lot of things you're worried about.
Oh, so you know it. Like all the things you said is.
I've never run a promotion like that, but I'm sure
we
there's
sit next to Corey and Chuck every day, so we know what it's like.
Yeah, it's a lot, and you guys know over there. I got a couple grades popping in down here, probably from that, and you got the satellite trucks, the TV trucks, the beams, and everything that happened, the lights and the venue, the people coming. I mean, it's a lot. So you never really let your hair down until that fight is over, because sometimes you will have fights to scratch. We had 2 or 3 fights last fight to scratch, and but I enjoy it, man.
Yeah. I love it.
It's one of those things where I wake up to do it every day. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I hit the gym, and then I'm working on Lights Out Extreme Fighting every single day.
LightsOutXF.com for more information on Sean Merriman's fight promotion, and much more coming from him, no doubt. Maybe we see him at WrestleMania at some point. Maybe we see him in one of these celebrity boxing matches. Who knows, Chad? Well, it's always something new.
Man of many talents.
For Lights Out. Hey, good to see you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Sean Merriman has been our guest. Hang with us. We will wrap things up with some headlines from across the NFL next on OutKick 360.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C-Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And, I think the easy answer is the right thing to do. When the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do. And did the right thing, and that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C-Spray were asking in this interview is, why would you do it? And of course we said because it's the right thing to do. But C-Spray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI. What are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans, and I believe that burn God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world can learn something from this. That there is hope. That there's good people around who will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, "Hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome, and where can I support? Where can I give money?" And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? And they said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward, and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. You know, everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story is represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. You know, it started in February. We had ceasefires on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold, and then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, days after the invasion, and originally we went there to see, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up, and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
Radio Row, our coverage across the OutKick network with Rowan Hutton with you. And Chad, Durant traded to the Phoenix Suns.
We were leaving
just across the street.
We were leaving dinner last night in downtown Phoenix, and walking out of the restaurant, this was the talk on the street. This was the hubbub that Kevin Durant was coming to this town where we are currently in Phoenix to play for the Suns. Huge move. Nets, dealing Kyrie Irving, and that was a big-time move to pair him with Luka Doncic in Dallas. And now Kevin Durant. certainly entering a new era for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
At this point in time, with both those guys moving on.
Well, and think about like they had Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons, plus Durant. I mean, it was just a mess. The whole Jason Kidd thing, or Steve Nash thing. Excuse me. And now Durant joins Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton here with the Suns. They're currently the standings. The Suns are currently like 5th or 6th in the West, and this puts them in that title. They were already right there.
Yeah.
This puts them as the favorite with the addition of many who consider him to be the best player in the league.
I don't think there's any doubt. You know, the only question is how quickly can he assimilate to the team and have.
He's used to it.
Yeah, he's done it before, but I don't know that he's done it, this late in the season. I don't think he's been a mid-season addition anywhere. He's been off-season addition.
That's true.
And he's made it work quickly over the course of the season.
He and Booker have discussed this before. The last time that he discussed a trade, Booker was lobbying him to be in Phoenix as well. This is that massive move that could lead to a championship for the Phoenix Suns for the first time.
Yeah, it's they're going for it. Clearly that this is a move done to say they've got an absolute superstar in Devin Booker already. Ayton's a really good pro, and now you bring in another legitimate superstar, and maybe the best scorer in the league. Not maybe, probably is. Where he is right now. It's a go for broke move for Phoenix. It has the desert buzzing.
And Matt Ishbia was just announced, approved by the league as the new owner of the Phoenix Suns. And 48 hours after that, he's trading for Kevin Durant.
That is how you.
That's a power move.
That's how you get in good with your fans in a city. You take over, and then immediately you trade for Kevin Durant and go for a championship in year number 1, season number 1 for the new owner.
Chad, today has been jam-packed. The OutKick crew behind the scenes, crushing it. We appreciate everybody working on the show and making it happen, which is not easy with all the moving parts here on Radio Row. We're back at it tomorrow as well. Another great guest list lined up. Looking forward to it. If you missed portions of the show, interviews, and more, head over to OutKick.com. Click on shows. You can find the podcast there. You can also just search us wherever you download your audio, or find us on YouTube. We hope you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel when you have the opportunity to go back and listen to some of the great chats we had today. Tim Brown was awesome. Having the chance to catch up with Hendon Hooker.
Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
It's a really good day on the show. A lot of fun. Sean Merriman, who we just had on, always terrific.
Armando
in a suit. Not just Armando, but showing up in a suit for us. I mean, just to go through all that effort just for us on this show, I thought was really cool of him. The Hollister twins. It's been a fun couple days. We'll have a big day again tomorrow. And again, we can't do any of this without everyone here that puts us on air. Everyone back in Nashville at 6th and Peabody that's putting us on air, and our great team here who's knocked it out of the park so far this week.
Hope you'll join us for the Friday edition just around the corner, 3 o'clock Eastern. That's when we get things kicked off. 3 hours of great guests from Radio Row tomorrow across the OutKick network. Thanks for joining us today for OutKick 360.